Oh, hello there. I'm Sarah. You might know me from the game, but today I'm here in Monaco for the Gran Turismo World Finals. Buckle up. We have the Nations Cup Regional Finals starting now.
To the Gran Turismo World Series World Finals, Nations Cup Regional Finals. That's a very long sentence. Hello, we are coming to you live from Monaco. Yes, we have Sarah here from the game. We also have Rupert here if you need any tuning help. I'm also joined by other Gran Turismo celebrities, which is Tom and Jimmy.
Celebrities, I think. Definitely a loose quotes for that last one, yeah.
I mean, everything's pretty loose here, to be honest with you. So, welcome. Very nice to have you here. This is day 2 of our 4 days of live shows. Yeah, we had obviously the Toyota Gazoo GT Cup yesterday, Igor Fraga winning. Talk us through a little bit, what were kind of thoughts for yesterday, Jimmy?
We were in the spice mines yesterday.
There was spice must flow.
So much drama yesterday.
Yeah.
Definitely a show worth the watch if you missed it, of course, after this one. But if that was anything to go by, today it's going to be an absolute banger.
Yeah, it was a lot, maybe too much spice? What are your thoughts?
No, it's never too much spice, is it, to be honest with you? And the thing is as well, obviously we've got 3 regional finals coming up tonight. There's only 3 spaces in each regional up for grabs. Then we've got a repechage. And if yesterday's repechage was anything to go by, Jules...
It was another level of repechage we have not seen before. I don't think it was quite spectacular. So, yeah, and of course, we have got drivers from all over the 4 corners of the globe who are here today, the best sim racers in the world. Look at them there. They're all having a lovely time here in Monaco. It's been very sunny, having a lovely time. Some of them in the pool. It's very nice. So, kind of, what are your maybe, some of your kind of ones to watch? Are you going to pick someone? You got to pick someone. I know you hate doing this, Tom, but can you get off the fence?
Yeah, I love
your life?
Sitting on the fence is like my favourite thing in the world.
All right, that's how you get splinters in a place you shouldn't. So come on.
Yeah, I mean, you can't look past Valerio Gallo, reigning champion, obviously. I mean, you've got some big names in there, Takuma Miyazawa, and we've got some newer names that have come through as well. So if you look at the online season, you know, Jose Serrano's been really strong all year, so it is hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. Who are some of your faves, Jim?
I'm going to go one person. Angelina Stroh's boss. This is you, mate. This is your time. It's happening, 100%.
Just fully doubling down.
Yep.
One driver, that's it.
Please don't pull out of the competition.
I feel like it's the commentator's curse now. You just ruined it. You just ruined it for Engel. Anyway, so much amazing racing still today. And also, we'd love you to give us your thoughts on Michelin Driver of the Day as well. Who do you think's pretty spectacular? But you're not going to be able to vote until the end of the show. So we want you to just keep an eye on sort of how things pan out today. And yeah, we'll be asking you for that. Let us know a bit later on. These guys are now going to go to the desk and do some proper work. But yeah, we're just going to have a quick look at the format for today. So yes, we have 30 drivers that are competing in the World Finals. And this is a little sort of breakdown graphic of exactly how they got there. As you can see, the different numbers from the different regions. So yes, we had general qualifying a little bit earlier on today, and obviously that will determine the grid placement moving forward. So yes, here we are. It's split into 3, obviously different categories, and 3 different groups. So there's 30 drivers in total. They will have a regional final champion, but then also the top 3 from each one will go straight through to the grand final, which is nice and easy. They can take a break, have a sit down. That's rather lovely. 4 to 7, less sitting down, but more tense sitting down as they get thrown into the repechage, and the remaining drivers, of course, will be eliminated. There are some points to be gained here, so of course it is all about the points. In the repechage, we have 12 drivers. Top 3 go through to the grand final. The remainders, then that's the end of their journey, and they're eliminated. But again, with the repechage, there are points, but it's a little bit less points. But still points, and points are what make prizes, because that is what's going to come down to the grand final. We're going to have our 12 drivers on Sunday competing for this stack of an abundance of points. but it is all about the combination of points over the entire course, over the whole year. It's going to determine our winner of our Nations Cup. So yes, there is a lot to play for. Those little smatterings of points are going to count. We would love to know your thoughts as we move through today's racing. So do hit us up on social media and let us know what you're thinking. I'm going to stop talking now, that's a lot of words, and kick it over to Tom and Jimmy. Come on, guys, do a bit of the heavy lifting here, come on.
Yeah, all right. Cheers, Jules. Thanks very much. Welcome along then to the GT commentary boxes, I should say. Well, that's a good start for the day, isn't it? We're live in 7 different languages. We're live in German. We've got Mikkel and Florian. We're live in French. We've got Donald and Fabian. In Spanish, Lucas and Alberto. In Italian, there's Emilio and Andrea. In Portuguese, there is Duarte and Francisco. And then we have got Yamada-san and Nakajima-san live in Japanese as well. And of course, over here on the GT desk, you get us live in
Best desk
as well. Hashtag best desk. Is that what you're going for it straight away? So 3 regional finals tonight, Jimmy. As I said, only 3 places up for grabs, automatically qualifying for that grand final. Everybody else is going to go for the repechage. I mean, there's a lot of pressure and not a lot of opportunity to get yourself in there.
Yeah, and we've got some pretty intense car and track combinations as well, which is going to promote some awesome racing, with also, I think, a little bit of drama, maybe.
I think a fair bit of drama. Let's have a look, shall we, at the point standings coming into this event, though, because, of course, we've had World Series events over the course of 2022, and you can see this is how the World Series points look coming into Monaco. So Igor Fraga hits the field with 7 points accrued over the course of this year. Kylian Drumont just 1 point back. Cockburn in there as well, not far away, with Jose Serrano tied on points for 3rd. Then Gallo, Benelli, and Estroza all tied on 4 points. Then Baptiste Beauvoir, Miyazono, the last of the drivers with some points on the board. So that is how it looks. Of course, EMEA regional final is along the way later, but this is the Asia-Oceania regional final, which is along the way first. So drivers from Japan, from Australia, from New Zealand, and from Hong Kong, China as well. We're very much looking forward to seeing what our competitors are going to be able to do. Just looking at the lineup there, though, Jimmy, is there anybody that sort of tickles your fancy?
It's really hard to look by Takuma Miyazono. I always say this, like the easy answer, right? But he did the triple back in 2020. There's a reason why we talk about him so much. Very, very fast guy. Rode Cockburn as well, another Japanese driver, another very fast driver in his own right. And outside chance, I'm going to say Emily Jones. I think this is her first actual appearance in a Nations Cup event here. So impress us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Takuma's got a lot of work to do. Let's bear in mind, only 1 point on the board. There's a few up for grabs here this evening as well. Let's take a look, shall we, at the qualifying event that took place earlier on here today. So it was a general qualifying session for our drivers. Each region was on the same car and circuit combo, which is the Escudo Suzuki Pikes Peak at the Big Willow Raceway. And the man of the moment in the Asia-Oceania region was none other than Takuma Miyazono.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, amazing combination, very difficult combination as well. But look at this time for Miyazono. Comes across the start-finish line, just a 101.0. Nearly 2 tenths clear of the entire field. And you know, if you watch any of these competitions, 2 tenths is an absolute mile. So really stamping down that authority early on.
Yeah, you can see the final qualifying order on your screen, and it is a quintet of Japanese drivers at the top. Miyazono, Suzuki, Yamanaka, Kawakami and Cockburn at the helm, with Guy Barbara, Cy Bishop, Matt McEwen, Emily Jones and Jonathan Wong bookending it. Just 7 tenths separating 10 drivers. As we said, 3 places up for grabs, automatically going through into that grand final. P4 down to P7 will go through into the repechage. And what about this man, Ryota Cockburn, then? Of course, we know he's quick. He won the World Tour back in Japan in 2019. He's a bit of an outside chance, though.
Yeah, as we say, only driver from the region who is actually in the top 10, top 8, sorry, heading into the final. So, yeah, outside chance. So we know he's always been quick. He's always been very fast, always one to watch. So hopefully, for his sake anyway, he can get maybe one further this time round and put himself in a good position for Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely right. Very much looking forward to seeing what Cockburn is going to be able to do. As we said, bit of an outside chance, but of course there is a car and circuit combo that these drivers need to get used to. So let's talk to you about what they're going to be racing in for the Asia-Oceania regional final. Back to the 60s. It is the Summer of Love of 67 and the Ferrari 330 P4. You can see that they're 4-litre engine, 448 horsepower, 792 kilograms though.
I don't want to be part of your Summer of Love, Tom, to be honest, so I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I mean, proper old school car this, V12 NA. You might think 450 horsepower isn't that much for a race car nowadays, but bear in mind this thing only weighs 800 kilograms and it's rear-wheel drive, proper old style, so it's going to take a lot to get their heads around driving this Ferrari.
And an old school circuit as well. Watkins Glen at the long course, you can see medium and soft tyres available for our drivers. They must use each tyre compound in the race over the course of the 17 laps. A rolling start for them, ×3 tyre wear will make it interesting in terms of strategy for the drivers as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about the tyre strategy a little bit later on. But I mean, that is going to be a bit of a handful around this track, isn't it? Not a lot of downforce on those old cars.
No, there's not. And of course the tyres as well, pretty much road tyres in these, with the racing medium and soft tyres being used in this event. Both tyres have to be used at least once, as is the usual way in these events. Not that big of a gap actually between them, only 0.8 of a second. Watkins Glen is one of those circuits where it's more about straight line speed than anything else. So we think that we're going to see, well, here are the two potential strategies. We need to tax these guys. They're just taking the easy way out, I swear, every time this graphic. But we saw yesterday the soft tyre getting used up very, very quickly in the Toyota GT Cup. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the same today. But soft tyre is usually a bit quicker.
Yeah, of course, Takuma Miyazono will start this race on pole position. Suzuki, Yamanaka, Kawakami, etc., all lining up.
Very nervous, aren't they?
They are a bit, and I'm not surprised as well, because there's very few opportunities. We're about ready then to get racing underway. It is time for the Asia-Oceania regional final here in Monaco. Drivers are lined up on the grid. It's Takuma Miyazono who will head the field here at Watkins Glen with Suzuki for company. Alongside him on that front row, row 2 is Tomoaki Yamanaka and his compatriot Kanata Kawakami in P4. The last of the Japanese drivers on the grid is Ryota Kokuman, who will start from 5th place with Guy Barbara, the Aussie, alongside him. At the head of the next row, it is Cy Bishop, the Kiwi. And alongside Cy, it is Matt McEwen, his fellow countrymen. Let's see what they can do from the next row of the grid. Emily Jones, the Aussie, is on 9th place on the grid, with Jonathan Wong from Hong Kong, China, bookending the 10-driver strong field. And interestingly there, JB, top 4 on softs.
Yeah, we tend to see this at the front of the field. Drivers towards the front of the grid like to go fast early and try and make a gap and try and avoid all that the first few laps and the first few laps of battling. That just slows you down over the course of the race distance. Those, the rest of the drivers outside the top 4 going for the medium compound, hoping for a fast finish and hoping the other car actually is usable towards the end. Now, I've got to say, Tom, it's a weird sight, but a cool sight, seeing a Michelin-labelled tyre on the side of this old Ferrari. I mean, it's kind of the mashing together old and new.
I think the drivers are just glad they're not on cross-ply tyres.
Yeah, I think so too.
Cy's doing a bit of meditation there before the start of this one. I think he's just getting himself fully in the zone and ready to go. Oh, there we are. He's woken up ready for the start of this one then. So, 17 laps of Watkins Glen long course. There's Guy Barbara, the Aussie, ready to go, repping Australia. Can he make it through to the grand final, which will take place here on Sunday? We're ready to go, though, for the Asia-Oceania regional final for the Nations Cup for Gran Turismo's World Series. And it is Takuma Miyazono who leads the field down towards the first corner, followed by Saya Suzuki, then Yamanaka, then Kawakami. All the field will begin to bunch up in the middle part of this circuit, but Miyazono does lead the field through and looking pretty nice there. But I have to say, Saya Suzuki coming under a bit of pressure already here from Tomoaki Yamanaka for second.
Yeah, we do. Yamanaka's very aggressive, and so much so that he put himself in the barrier there, slowed himself down on the way up of the S. It's really easy to do that, especially in a car like this, where there's a lot of understeer and a lot of power oversteer. These old-style cars definitely take a completely different driving style to something like a Group 3 car. That's Kawakami, in the background, a little bit wide there. Kokuman on the medium compound tyre, managing to, for the moment anyway, stay with the guys on the soft tyres. And this is the boot layout, which means that we do have the full course here at Watkins Glen, a fairly long lap around it, and plenty of chances to overtake.
Problems early doors for Guy Barbara, unfortunately. The Aussie, we saw him just before the start of this one, pointing to the Australian flag on his shirt. It's not been good for him. He's had some kind of an incident. He's already at the back of the field, 10 seconds of the rest of the drivers.
I reckon he was saying, right, I'm going to go at the start of the race. Off to Australia.
The Aussie strategy upside down, isn't he? By the looks of things. Anyway, it is Takuma Miyazono who leads the field then in towards this chicane. Let's see if we can piece together what happened here for Guy Barbara. Here he is, P6 just coming through over the rise.
Oh, that's a massive one for Guy Barbara. You're seeing that what this car is like there, just getting away from him over the rise. Well, the tyres are cold, and unfortunately now a lot to do for Guy Barbara to get back into contention.
So at the end of the first lap, we're coming through now. It is Takuma Miyazono who will lead the field on the way through. You can see the pit lane line there on the left-hand side of the circuit. Just a reminder, when the drivers do come in for their mandatory pit stop in this race, they have to go to the inside, so it will be quite easy to spot them because, of course, the entry to the pit lane begins before the final corner. And we saw that yesterday, didn't we? Drivers making a few errors and getting a few penalties in the Toyota Cup.
The problem with the line being there, Tommy, on this circuit is it's actually part of the racing line. So you've got to be careful when you pit and not run into the guy in front. So we're on board now with Yamanaka. Awesome to see this old-style Ferrari from the onboard view here. You can see just how much the car moves over the top there. It's a relatively soft suspension on these old 60s racers, and you're going to see through here, despite that though, despite only having 440 horsepower, we're doing nearly 300 k's there coming into the chicane. Have to slow the car right down, no aero there to help you through the corner. It's all in the tyre and mechanical grip, and you can see Yamanaka, they're getting it a little bit wrong, a little bit slow through there, and Suzuki and Miyazaki in front pulls that a little bit further away.
Penalty for Jonathan Wong down in at P9. Emily Jones has just managed to get himself ahead, rather, I should say, of Jonathan. So let's see what the situation is there, whether that's just a track limits penalty and a coincidence, or whether there was perhaps a smattering of contact between those two drivers. But still, as you were at the front of this race, Miyazono from Suzuki, from Yamanaka, from Kanata Kawakami, then relatively sort of sizable gaps actually between the medium shop runners further back. Here is Emily Jones then versus Jonathan Wong. So this is the battle for P8 as they come down in towards the chicane. Jones goes through on the inside with Jonathan Wong then. He goes over the curb and corner cut penalty, that's what it'll be there.
Yeah, just you can't do that here, of course. Automatic penalty handed out by the game for cutting the corner for Jonathan Wong. Bit of a shame, but Emily Jones up to P8 at the moment. Here is Yamanaka, watching him currently in P3. Currently it's still Japanese domination in the Asia-Oceania final. Top 5 inhabited by Japanese drivers at the moment. A reminder, only the top 3 drivers go through automatically to the finals, of course, on Sunday. The rest go into the repechage, or their competition ends here.
Bit of a Kiwi battle going on here for P6. Cy Bishop coming under pressure from Matt McEwen as they come down the start-finish straight. I wonder if Matt just almost got out of the throttle by the looks of things down that straight in towards the first corner, whether he's just sitting behind Cy or whether he's going to try and find his way through. They've got to be a bit careful because if they get involved in too much of a tussle. Emily Jones there in P8 is ready to try and pounce. A reminder that P4 to P7 go through into the repechage. Cy Bishop goes into the wall there. That won't help his momentum and drive through. That's going to leave him under attack from Matt McEwen and possibly Emily Jones as they come on the run down in towards the chicane. Then let's see if Bishop can hold firm in 6th place. He can for the time being, so that mistake doesn't cost him too much. But as I was saying, P4 to P7 go through to the repechage. It's all up for grabs here, and Emily Jones just sitting outside of that opportunity right now.
You know, Wong picking up another penalty there over the chicane, but Emily was a bit kind there, I think. She could have used that run, but I didn't think you wanted to go 3 wide straight away. But you got to send it in these competitions. We know that it's all about getting the move done quickly and then getting on with your race. But right now we're still sitting on board with Matt McEwen. Cy Bishop in front. We look around the outside there, but the camera's on the inside of his corner. But if you can get a late apex here and get a nice run out, but not quite able to do so. So the two Kiwis separated by about a tenth of a second. Will McEwen look at the insides here? No, they're being quite kind to each other at this point. I think maybe they're trying to think of the race a bit later on. Bear in mind, outside of Repechage, who's just in front of us, the rest of the competitors are on the soft tyres, the top 4 on the soft tyres, so they're going to be quicker at this stage of the race.
Just about to say, do you think it's too early to be talking about tyres? Do you wonder if they're just maybe biding their time to possibly think about tyre life? I mean, we saw them drop off a cliff quite dramatically yesterday in the Gazoo Racing GT Cup. Do you think they might just be sitting behind other drivers, maybe thinking, I won't go too hard too soon, and maybe just give myself those extra few percent of grip?
You have to think about Repechage there, because he's on the same strategy as them, and he's got a 2-second gap in front, or nearly a 3-second gap in front now. So Bishop McEwen now deciding he is the faster of the Kiwis. Up the inside goes Matt McEwen past Cy Bishop. Nice clean move there. Will Cy try and come back and go up the hill? They now know Sattel coming up the S's. Emily Jones looking around the outside, does the sensible thing there, decides to back out that one. And McEwen now, let's watch him over the S's. Bishop's looking very, very unsteady through there. He's not confident in the car over the rise. We saw about a lap ago going to the wall there as well, so maybe starting to feel the wear there on that soft compound tyre. Emily Jones looking up the inside, not quite though, backs out of that one. And Matt McEwen now seems to have been released and is now in hot pursuit of Repechage in front.
You need to be really, really sure that you'll be able to pull that move off going 2 by 2 into that chicane. Emily Jones deciding that discretion is the better part of valour on that occasion, so sits behind Cy Bishop there in P7. But as you say, looking a little bit unsteady at the moment is Cy, not quite having the run that he would have been hoping for. I know that his family are watching on at home. It's 5 a.m. over in New Zealand local time, so a big good morning to Mama and Father Bishop, who are watching their son at the moment, sitting in P7, the last spot of the repechage as it stands. Emily Jones, the Aussie, trying to take that place away from Cy Bishop. So let's see whether she is going to be able to do so. Meanwhile, at the front, Yamanaka and Suzuki getting pretty close to one another, now down to 7/10 of a second, so definitely within slipstreaming range here.
Yeah, at the moment they are, but do you fight at this stage? We saw yesterday in the Toyota GT Cup that people fighting on the first stint really cost them on the last stint, and it allowed Igor Fraga, of course, to drive to an easy victory. So maybe they've seen that, they've learned from it here in the regional finals for the Asia-Oceania region, and maybe just chilling out a little bit, waiting for the laps to tick down before executing their strategies. Meanwhile, the Kiwis and Emily Jones still very close together at the moment. It seems Emily just can't quite get anything done. I think she's a little bit quicker than Sai in front. Of course, she is getting a draft up the straight as well, so that is going to help. But yeah, I think maybe she needs to think about getting by these guys quickly and trying to run her own pace, because right now they're all stuck together and they're all falling back from Repechage, who's on the same strategy.
Just having a look at some stats, actually, whilst you were talking there, Jimmy. Do you know, the last time we had regional finals was back in 2020, and in the Asia-Oceania region, who was the driver that won it? Takuma Miyazono.
Oh, really?
There you go.
I should know that.
But he's leading now. Look at Emily Jones getting really caught up the exhaust pipe here of Sai Bishop. She's got great momentum there, but just no room to use it and to try and find her way through as they come through this long right hand. And the thing is, she needs to try to make hay whilst the sun shines, and she's got this momentum advantage. Up the inside, she sends it on Sai Bishop into the left-hander and goes through into 7th place. So Emily Jones now dispatches of Sai Bishop. Now she can try and close down that 7/10 of a second gap to Matt McEwen in 6th.
That does give McEwen a little bit of breathing room, but we know Emily's a quick driver. She'll be in the back of McEwen very, very quickly, I imagine. Although Matt actually has been very quick himself recently, a driver that's definitely improved over the course of his participation in these events. Back on board now with Yamanaka, a familiar view for him. Suzuki still in front and still within touching distance, 0.3 of a second now. You can see that Yamanaka actually adjusting some things on the wheel. You can adjust brake bias in this car. And of course, fuel consumption as well, though fuel consumption is really going to be an issue in this race. But getting the brakes in the right place in this sort of car is. And I heard rearward bias is probably the way to go in this Ferrari. Really close now to the back of Suzuki. In fact, has the drive. It's going to drive by him, but Suzuki just lets him have it. You see, gets off the throttle nice now. There's no fight there from Suzuki. Maybe deciding, hey, you know what? Yamanaka's a bit quicker than me. I'm going to let him drive up in front, let him pull up to the back of Miyazono, and I'll use the draft to go with him.
Yeah, quite an easy strategy call there for Suzuki. Maybe just opting for the longer game in this race. And that's kind of what we're used to seeing here when we've got a bit of strategy going on. It doesn't always end up being the most exciting start to it, but when it comes towards the end of these tyre strategies all begin to work out. The thing is, if Suzuki can just sit there with Yamanaka, he'll be right in the pound seats come at the end of the race with only one pit stop here. So there's not too much of a divergence in strategies. He can also just use Yamanaka as a bit of a marker point, really, here. If he goes into the pit lane, he might think, actually, oh, do you know what, I'll follow him through, and then just use him and sit in the slipstream and then pounce at the end.
Yeah, I mean, the raw speed of Yamanaka, I think, is one of someone who could win one of these events outright, but he just needs to temper that aggression a little bit. We've seen so many times where he's been involved in incidents just being a little bit impatient, but you know, every time you come back to one of these events, you getting a little bit more experience. You have to think by now, Yamanaka, he's been in for a long time, so I think he's due a good result. Meanwhile, Miyazono up front, his gap is 1.5 seconds now, so he's starting. I think he is now out of the draft, out of the slipstream range, which is massive. A reminder of our tyre strategies are on the screen. We'll see if our tyre guys are right come on lap 8. If we get to lap 8 and the soft runners pit, then I owe them a drink. We'll do it that way.
You might end up being out of pocket in this way. Yeah, it's a rare sight. Take a photo of Jimmy Broadbent actually paying for something. Anyway, anyway, you can see here, this is Yamanaka with Suzuki very, very close behind, just coming through the final corner and across the timing line. The gap for the race leader to Takuma Miyazono, 1.5 seconds. It sits at the moment. He's out of the slipstream range, just doing a really nice job of leading from the front. Kind of what we saw actually from Igor Fraga yesterday in the grand final, just pulling out that advantage and just not allowing any immediate pressure from behind. Let's have a look at further back.
Oh, big sense from McEwen there. That was a little bit, I think, just laying on the brakes, caught himself out a little bit. Went into the back of Emily Jones there, and luckily I think no damage and no time lost really, but that would have been a bit of a surprise. It's the last thing you want is the rear of his car is already quite nervous, and to have someone basically lift it up is and to keep it in one piece is very impressive. But that gap now, yeah, it's 5 seconds from Jones to Kokobun. So you're seeing that the difference there between squabbling and just driving on your own, and Emily actually using quite a lot of her tyres as well. I think they're quite a lot, showing a percentage down on the rest of them, but yeah, it's still some tyre life left on those mediums, still a lot of tyre left on those softs. We heard earlier, we asked this question, about 50% they start to really fall away, 20% you're struggling big time, 0% you might as well be in the wheelbarrow.
Well, quite, yeah. I was talking to Sai Bishop actually before this one, and I said, you know, have you had time to practice this car and circuit combination before you came here? He said, the thing is, we only got the information about 24, 48 hours before we ended up coming here to Monaco. And obviously it's a couple of days flight for these guys on the other side of the world, and they said we just didn't have time to sit down and practice it. So they are coming into this relatively green. So I wonder whether they've had the time to finesse the strategies like they would have done had they had a longer opportunity to get that practice in.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps, but it's the same for everyone, of course, in this Asia-Oceania regional final. And looking back there from Emily Jones, Matt McEwen's still there. Look who's come back into it. Jonathan Watt, he's picked up the time he lost earlier on. A little reminder, of course, the top 3 do automatically go through to the grand final on Sunday. I think, is it 4th to 8th, the repechage, John?
4th to 7th, 8th, as well, go no further. So at the moment, we'll be saying goodbye to Cy Bishop, Jonathan Wong and Guy Barbara as it stands. So, yeah, 3 drivers will not be making the cut. Jonathan Wong's trying to do his best to get himself in with an opportunity of going forward into that repechage. Of course, where you finish in the repechage determines where you will, in the regional finals determines where you start on the grid for the repechage too. So even if you get yourself in there, you want to get as far up in the grid, the race as you possibly can, come the checkered flag, because it will give you a better starting position for that repechage.
Yeah, do you reckon this? So for Guy Barber, I reckon it might be 8 seconds off the back there after that incident on that one. If I was him, I'd pit for softs now and just send it and just hope for the best. Really, he needs to do something different, because otherwise he's got to gain 8 seconds on pace. And 8 seconds in this sort of competition is almost impossible. They're all so close together on pace. They're all so quick that sort of gap is almost insurmountable. So Emily Jones leads this little second pack as it is at the moment, and now Jonathan Wong now right on the back, he's served 2 penalties, so he's done quite well to be back there, but it also shows maybe the pace of his back isn't actually that quick on the medium tyre.
No, it's very impressive from Jonathan Wong. He's been doing quite well, as you say, to just bridge that gap really well over the last few laps, and is doing a good job sitting there, just keeping a watching brief on the rest of the field. We're now coming into sort of the pit window time. Lap 8 was when we were expecting the soft runners to come in, so I wonder, come the end of this lap, whether we will see a few drivers making the move into the pit lane. They're just coming through past it now, so let's see whether that does take place. But I think they might just be opting for perhaps a slightly different strategy here at the front and ignoring what our guys thought.
Oh no, but Yamanaka, Nora Suzuki, so they're all coming in on the prediction zone there. The thing is, the tyre will go further, and Miyazono thinks it might as well. Now this might backfire for Miyazono, because everyone's coming into the pit lane. Miyazono has decided to go for one more lap there, and he will be a little bit slow. So Yamanaka just geeing himself up a little bit in the pit box. There's actually a little bit of a break there for the guys during the race. Just sit in the pit lane, just wait, just breathe, just refocus, and then go from there. So far, Yamanaka does have the fastest lap of the race, so the guy has speed. It's whether he can actually now convert that into a possible race win here in the Asia-Oceania regional final.
So plenty of pit stops then having been made. The top 4 of this race have not yet made their pit stop. Likewise, Guy Barbara hasn't, but of course he's relatively out of sync compared to the rest of the field following the first lap dramas that he has had. So that battle that was for the last places in the repechage has now progressed up to a battle for second. Of course, it will all work itself out once these pit stops do take place. At the moment, it is Matt McEwen at the helm, currently sitting ahead of Emily Jones and Cy Bishop. Cy has just not had that good of a pace, unfortunately, at this point. He's been there and thereabouts, but unfortunately he's left himself sort of open to attack. Matt McEwen and Emily Jones have managed to side their way through, and he's just sort of sat on the coattails of them at the moment.
Yeah, there's not much. In this situation, it's kind of difficult. You think, oh, I've got the draft, I'm quicker on the straights, but if you end up making these lunges, making these moves, you just slow the whole pack down. It's something that I preach quite a lot on these broadcasts, because you have to think about working together. And all the guys from Australia and from New Zealand, they're quite good friends here at the event. They hang out all together, of course. So there's that little element there of camaraderie. And Takuma Miyazono finally coming into the pit lane. Now, is this a bad choice? He had about a 1.5 second lead before the pit stops got underway. Let's see where that lead is now after his pit stop.
Yeah, just having a look at the second times, they were pretty fine last time around. They were there and thereabouts the same sort of as Matt McEwen et al. Behind, and not too far off the likes of some of the other drivers who have made their pit stops then in this race. So I think it will work out quite nicely here for Takuma Miyazono. McEwen, Jones, Bishop also in the pit lane. Let's see what happens as the Japanese driver emerges from the pit box then. It's compatriots coming down the start-finish straight. It's a long old pit exit there for Miyazono. We need to keep an eye out stage left to see where the rest of the competitors are, and easily Miyazono is able to get ahead. He's extended his advantage at the front up to 2.2 seconds.
That was a hell of an in-lap. I did not expect that. I thought that Yamanaka would gain here on Miyazono, but no, he didn't. 2 seconds now. I think that's pretty much the gap it was when he came in. I mean, it just flexing, isn't he, Miyazono? He loves him. I have no idea how he made that stick that way.
Yeah, really nice pace actually he had on that in-lap. I was just keeping a closer eye on the second times, and they were just really, really strong. Somebody who's kind of in no man's land at the moment is Ryota Kokuben. He's 1.1 seconds off the back of Kawakami, but I don't think he'll be in no man's land for too long because, of course, he is on the alternate strategy relative to Kawakami in front. He might get himself up into 4th place, which will still be a repechage spot, but of course, as I said earlier on, it'll be a position up on the grid in that repechage spot. He's got 5 seconds then the gap to close down to Suzuki, which will be a bit of a tall order, but not impossible.
I'm not sure what happened to Kawakami today. He's dropped quite a bit of time compared to the people also on his strategy. Bishop getting a bit of a slap in the wrist from his stewards, the bump drafting. You know, you can't do that in these events. So Kokuben now is in the reverse situation he was a minute ago. He's now on the quicker tyre, so he's going to have a quicker car underneath him for the rest of his race. Also, he's going to have less fuel in the car than the drivers in front while they're on the soft tyre. So he should be able to, in theory, lap a little bit quicker than they did as well. Of course, though, the same is true for those on the medium compound tyre. So now he's right up behind Kawakami. He needs to get by as soon as possible. Kawakami, of course, there's no reason why he should get out of the way. He's still fighting for a pace exactly the same that Kokuben is. He's going to try and make it as difficult as possible. But the reality is, every corner Kokuben's stuck there is time lost to those in front.
So through the final corner we go. This will be the slipstream bit wide there for Kawakami. Yeah, so Kokuben's going to get a great run on the exit of the corner, and he's going to sail past down this start-finish straight in the battle for 4th place. And now he's got some clear track in front of him where he can just run his own rhythm in this race. So delight there for Ryota Kokuben. Now let's see what the Japanese driver can do. 5.4 seconds is the gap to Saya Suzuki in 3rd place, and he's got 6 laps to do it. So he needs to be taking out over a second a lap in order to be able to get himself up within a chance of getting through.
It's going to be difficult. We think the difference in tyres is about 0.7, 0.8 a lap, so it's going to be a really, really tall ask for Kokuben. You know, actually, let's look at his lap times from there. He did a fully free 1 last time around, which is only 4 tenths slower than Yamanaka, his best lap of the entire race so far. And Yamanaka, he did that whilst stuck behind Kawakami. So let's see what pace he has. This isn't over yet.
Yeah, it was 8 tenths faster than Suzuki, crucially, though, in 3rd place. So he's already trying to bring that gap down. This is going to be really, really interesting. Suzuki and Yamanaka are also getting involved in a bit of a tussle here, quite possibly, which might allow another opportunity for Kokuben to just try and close that gap down. This is the battle for 2nd place. This, of course, is an all-automatic qualifying position for the grand final. 1st to 3rd automatically go through. At the moment, it is Miyazono, Yamanaka, and Suzuki. And Yamanaka and Suzuki running nose to tail with one another. If they get involved in a squabble, it might allow, as I say, Kokuben to close up, but also it might allow a bit more of a breakaway there for Miyazono. That gap was 2 seconds when he came out the pit lane. It's come down to 1.6 here.
The pace has dropped a little bit at the front there for Miyazono. Actually now, Yamanaka's up a little bit closer, and it kind of helps when you start seeing the guy get closer to you. Psychologically, you're like, right, okay, now it's on. Now I can chase for this win here. But 1.6 seconds, all he really needs to do is gain about half a second. Then he's in the draft, he's in the slipstream, and catching him will be a lot easier. Suzuki's in that position now. He's just behind Yamanaka. You're going to watch him now, the difference. So here's the timing. So you see Kokuben did take a second out of Suzuki there, 8 tenths, 9 tenths before that. So it's not going to be long before in our mirrors we see Ryota Kokuben on that soft compounder tyre, charging hard in this late race. So here is a draft for Suzuki. I was going to say, I thought he might go through there, but I think he might have just tapped the brakes a little bit or something just to stay behind, or had a bit of an early shift. But Yamanaka staying ahead, but now still only 1.7 seconds, and maybe Miyazono is starting to respond to this, going, okay, well, you know what, I can cruise for a bit. Oh, they're here now, I'll get on with it.
You see the big slide that Yamanaka had through the second part of that chicane. Just here to show how tricky these Ferrari 330 P4s are. Problems for Jonathan Wong. He's going down behind Emily Jones and Cy Bishop. I think there might have been a bit of contact there, possibly with Cy Bishop, because the Kiwi has picked up a penalty in P8. The gap, though, with Kokuben and Suzuki and Yamanaka now as well, down to 4 seconds. He's taken, what, 1.6 seconds out of them over the course of 1 lap?
Yeah, he's really starting to gain now. There he is. You can just see him in the background of your picture there. Kokuben starting to reel these guys in front. Now, again, reminder, top 3, they are the desirable positions in today's race. The reason being they are automatic qualification through to the grand final on Sunday. So Kokubun right now will be going to the repechage alongside Kawakami McEwen and Emily Jones. So you don't want to be in there. Repechage tends to be chaos. So you much prefer a automatic qualification, believe me in that one.
Yeah, the repechage is lava, as it were. So this is for the final spot up for grabs in the grand final. And it is a two-way squabble at the moment for second between Yamanaka and Suzuki, but Kokubun again taking 10th sector by sector. You can see very much visibly now within the same shot, 3.4 seconds. Of course, soft tyres there for Kokubun, about 8 tenths of a second quicker. Let's see if we can piece together what happened here with Cy Bishop and Matt McEwen. This is Jonathan Wong getting it all wrong going through the chicane, and I wonder whether Cy Bishop might have just cut the corner, and that's just a penalty that's happened purely by coincidence there. But Jonathan Wong going sliding down the order, and Wong gets it wrong down into 10th.
This car just gave up, didn't they? He turned in, the car went, nah. That's a sad one for Jonathan Wong. But I doubt that we'll see him go any further. Now Suzuki there, kick up a little bit of grass on the way through it. There you go, kick up the grass, and that's a 1 second penalty. That's a sigh of release there, relief for Yamanaka. But saying that, Miyazono is now starting to increase that gap in front once again. The difference was 6 tenths last lap in Miyazono's favour, so I don't think he's too bothered. Yamanaka made me think, well, you know what, I'm P2, that's good enough for now. But Suzuki there with that penalty, and that's going to drop him right into the clutches of Ryota Kokubun, who is still gaining behind. The gap now only 2.9 seconds. Last lap, Kokubun was nearly a second faster than Suzuki in front. So this is really going to bring him back into the clutches and take him out of automatic qualification if he's not careful.
You can see there what it would mean for the live points rankings, because there are points on offer here for the regional final. 6 for first, 5 for second, 4 for third, and it would be great for Takuma Miyazono, who only had 1 point coming into this regional final. He'd be elevating himself up tied with Igor Fraga on 7 points. Of course, Fraga hasn't had his final yet at the moment, so worry about that a little bit later on, but still it'd be a very good and welcome opportunity here for Miyazono as it stands. But here we are then on board with Kokubun. The gap now down to 1.1 seconds. He's coming into that slipstreaming range. This is the last position up for grabs to automatically qualify for the grand final here in this Asia-Oceania regional final, and it is advantage Ryota Kokubun. Then he's got a few laps left. He's got time to just sit there behind, close that gap down incrementally and think about where he's going to pounce. Maybe look at where Suzuki is a bit weaker than he is and try and make that move cleanly and fairly.
He is taking chunks. I mean, of course, last time was a penalty, but lap 12, 1.1 seconds is much faster than we thought the tyre differences work about 8 tenths. He's shown said no, it's 1.1, and if he can keep doing that, he's not going to look just at Suzuki, he's going to look at Yamanaka in front and then go maybe for P2 and maybe even look at Miyazono. I don't think he's quite got enough time to pull that gap down. It's about 5 seconds from Kokubun to Miyazono. We've only 3 and a bit laps left, so I think P2 probably is his best bet for now. But yeah, as you said, Tom, he doesn't really need to rush it too much if he's just trying to get through to the grand final. We know what these guys are like, they want every position possible.
Loves a bit of pressure, does Ryota Kokubun. The last time he was on the top step in the Nations Cup was the World Series Showdown back in 2021 in August. Of course, that was all when it was online. We weren't in person like it is here, and of course it's a very different kettle of fish when you're in person at these events. But Kokubun really is soaking up that pressure like a sponge. Lap 14 out of 17 we're on. Look at his tyre life. Of course, I suppose that is the caveat to being on the soft tyre. Though you've got more pace, the tyres do wear out that bit more quickly. I don't think it should be too much for him to have to worry about when Suzuki's making a slight error there coming into that corner. A bit too much speed on the way in, having to take a later apex, and that's really allowed Kokubun to close right up onto the back of his compatriot as they come through the final series of corners. Suzuki there is just trying to park that car on the apex, but it seems like it's a matter of when and not if Kokubun is going to find his way through, and possibly down the start finish straight will be the opportunity that he is looking for. So he pulls out of the slipstream, then pulls alongside Suzuki, does Ryota Kokubun. They go 2 by 2 down to the first corner, and Kokubun goes up into the podium places and automatically qualifies for the grand final as it stands.
Now, will Suzuki try and attack back here? Of course, this is a one that made free badly, so he's going to be in the draft. This is his best time to do it. He's not going to be able to match Kokubun on pace through the corner, so you might as well give it a go now. While in the draft, he looks to the outside. Kokubun goes defensive, but can't do anything on the inside there. Suzuki back through. No, Kokubun's going to try and go side by side. It's very difficult to do that through here. They're going to make it work. They just about do. Kokubun kicks up a little bit just to the inside now in the rear quarter of Suzuki. That's still side by side. Suzuki is not going to give this one up. He's going to be on the inside, though, Suzuki, for the next corner, so he might be able to defend a little bit longer. Kokeman's going to try the long way around to that soft compound tie. He makes it stick. Kokeman round the outside, up into P3, and now hot in pursuit of Yamanaka in front.
You'd think somebody had tied a rope between those two. They were side by side for so long. Great driving from Kokeman and great respect from Saya Suzuki as well to get himself into fourth place. No contact between those two drivers. How they were able to run 2 by 2 for such a long time, I don't quite know. But what a great battle it was between them. Kokeman now emerging on top, 3/10 of a second to the good. He is over Suzuki. Can he now just settle into his rhythm and try and hold on to that third place? I think it's going to be a bit of a tall ask to close down onto the back of Yamanaka. I suppose the one advantage here for Suzuki is he now has the toe, the slipstream, of course, that air being pushed in front of him, so he's got more straight line speed.
Yeah, if he can live with Kokeman out through the traction section. Look at this, out mid-corner. He just doesn't quite have that mechanical grip that the soft tyre would offer in this situation, so can't quite get there. So Kokeman actually lost time to Yamanaka there because of fighting with Suzuki, so he's still got 2 seconds to make up. He's got 2 laps to do it in. I don't know, this lap's going to have to be one hell of a lap and then try and use the draft to get by from there if he wants to try and get into P2. It is possible, but it's going to be difficult. No, and with that, it's going to be even harder. He hits a wall there, and Suzuki now has a run to get back through. Kokeman into the wall, unforced error there, and now back into P4. Suzuki's been given another chance here.
Let's see whether he can take advantage of that opportunity then. So coming through the chicane, this is where they were going side by side, and it began kicking off on the last lap. Now Kokeman's really going to have to start thinking about it. We're on the penultimate lap. There's just one more chance here for Kokeman, one more lap for him to go to get himself past Suzuki, and he's put himself in a really, really challenging position. Let's see how the Japanese driver is going to battle with it as we ride on board with him then. So through the hairpin we go into the cambered right hand, and this of course is where we know that it really does get quite tight and quite twisty. Suzuki there not as much mid-corner speed as Kokeman has, and you can see closing up on the exit, bit of oversteer there for Kokeman, but he's really signalling his intention here as they come down in towards the penultimate corner. I think it's going to be a bit of a send and a lunge into this right-hander. Can he make the move stick? Side by side they come. Kokeman goes through on Suzuki. Well, or does he? Because they're still side by side, and I think Kokeman just backed out of it momentarily there. Suzuki back through into third for the time being. Into the left-hander we go, and this is a titanic scrap. The last opportunity to qualify for the grand final automatically is up for grabs. At the moment, it is Saya Suzuki with the advantage.
Yeah, a bit rude there, Goodman. I think a little bit late as well. I think Suzuki is fine to defend there, but you're just seeing it out of the traction zones. Suzuki's not really got much of an answer. Kokeman's going to put alongside up to the inside. This might not be where he wants to be here. He might want to be trying to be behind. He has. There you go. He thought about that. He thought, you know what? Actually, no. I'm going to hit the draft up the hill. I'm going to overtake you into the bus stop. Then I'm going to pull away. But Suzuki is not going to let that happen. And behind us, Matt McEwen is actually fighting with Kawakami as well. So battles up and down the field.
Yeah, McEwen, of course, on the soft compound. Oh! Big moment there for Suzuki. Is he going to keep it in the straight line? Yes, he does. Kokeman, though, grinning from ear to ear, and Suzuki clips the wall there on the outside. Let's see how this plays out as they come down into the chicane. So Suzuki in front, Kokeman backs out of it there. This is so close and so frenetic. Kokeman's got great drive coming out of the chicane into the right-hander. Suzuki's got no answer. Kokeman's on the inside. Can he go through into third place and qualify for the grand final? Contact between the two as they come into the left-hander. Kokeman on the outside, Suzuki on the inside. Side by side between these two drivers. What a titanic scrap here on the final lap, and they still run side by side. Here comes Kokeman down the inside as he goes through into third place. Can he hold it though until the checkered flag? What a phenomenal final lap, and Kokeman does manage to reign supreme.
Yeah, one last chance though for Suzuki. It's going to be a massive dive down here in the right hand. He won't go for it. Massive respect there between the two drivers. I thought they would have ended each other a few times, and that save at the top after the exit from Suzuki was I have no idea how he managed that, but an awesome save by him. But coming round the last sequence of the corners now, it's Takuma Miyazono on his way to victory here in the final.
What a drive it has been from Takuma Miyazono. Well, the last time he stood on the top step of the podium in the Nations Cup was the World Finals in 2020. He wins the Asia-Oceania regional final here in Monaco. Across the line comes Miyazono to take the checkered flag. Yamanaka over the line in second. Third place goes to Ryota Kokeman after an amazing final few laps. Suzuki is fourth. Kawakami comes home P5 ahead of Matt McEwen. Emily Jones is the last of the drivers to qualify for the Repechage side. Bishop, unfortunately, does not progress any further forwards. Likewise, Guy Barber Barbara and Jonathan Wong. But what a fantastic race that was in the Asia-Oceania regional final. Huge congratulations to Takuma Miyazono, back on top.
Just an awesome race, really, that, wasn't it? I mean, that scrap on the last lap between the Suzuki and Kokubun, that's going to be watched hundreds of thousands of times. That's how you do it. That's how you race cleanly there. I really expected one of them to roof one of the other ones. To be honest, it was really intense racing, but luckily no one ended up in the wall. Not too badly anyway, I should say. Kokubun came out on top there. I think Experience won that one. Although saying that, he did seem to feel under pressure. That unforced error really was difficult for him. Here are some highlights.
Yeah, let's see what happens then. So Takuma Miyazono started this one from the sharp end of the field, followed by Suzuki and Yamanaka. It all went wrong for Guy Barbara in the early stages. Had a big old moment coming over the rise, and unfortunately that was his race. See there exactly how frustrating that was. Emily Jones versus Jonathan Wong. Wong was in the wars in the early stages, picking up a couple of penalties left, right and centre. It all went wrong for him later on as well. There was a great scrap as well between Matt McHugh and Cy Bishop and Emily Jones in the early to mid stage of this one before the pit stop started to play out. And Yamanaka also made progress, getting himself ahead of Seiya Suzuki.
Yeah, Miyazono opted to pit one lap later than his competitors, but actually proved to be a good decision. He was able to keep that tyre alive a little bit longer and actually increased his gap from pre-pit stop. He just looks cool, calm and collected, doesn't he? Look, Sunday drive for Miyazono, always is.
Always the way. Doesn't seem to ever surmount any of the pressure that comes underneath him. This is where it really went peak-tong for Wong. Unfortunately, he ended up going down the order. A big moment coming into the chicane, and he knew that was the problem. This was Suzuki's undoing as well. It really put him on the back foot. He was close on the back of Yamanaka. A 1 second penalty, though, left him under attack from Ryota Kokubun. Kokubun on the soft compound of tyre. More pace underneath him in the latter stages of the race. We thought that might have been it, done and dusted, but then he made a couple of errors. That allowed Suzuki to retaliate. You can see this big moment on the final lap, though, for Suzuki. Put him on the back foot. Kokubun, though, sensed the opportunity and really took advantage, got himself back through eventually on the inside of Suzuki to claim third place, but it wasn't enough to stop Takuma Miyazono from becoming the Asia-Oceania regional final champion here. He qualifies automatically for the grand final, and likewise Ryota Kokubun as well. So you can see the top three there. Those are the drivers who progressed through. Suzuki, Kawakami, McHugh and Emily Jones will go through into the repechage. Unfortunately, we say goodbye to Cy Bishop, Guy Barbara and Jonathan Wong. They will go no further in the Nations Cup event here this weekend. Let's head down to Julia after that incredible event and chat to our Asia-Oceania regional champion, Takuma Miyazono.
Hi, look at that. Well, first of all, congratulations. Talk us through how that race went for you.
まずはおめでとうございます。今のレースどんな感じでしたか？本当にまず昨日が本当にボロボロだったので、今日こうやって勝てて本当にほっとしてます。
Yeah, yesterday I was kind of all over the place, so today I'm really glad to have been able to pull this off.
You seemed very comfortable. Were you comfortable?
すごく落ち着いているように見えましたけど、どうでした？
いやもう全然落ち着いてなくて、もう本当に最後の週までミスをしないかどうかすごい不安で、もう全然落ち着いて走れていなかったと思います。
Yeah, not at all, because until the very last lap I was very nervous and just really trying to keep it on the track and keep it stable, and yeah, I'm glad I was able to do it.
You seem very calm though.
見た目的にはすごくなんかもう平常心って感じでしたよ。
見た目はそうかもしれないですけども、心の方は本当にボロボロで、なんとかでもこれで立て直して、明後日の決勝に備えられると思います。
Yeah, I mean, I might have looked, stable on the surface, but I was all in pieces on the inside, and I'm glad it came together, and I'm hoping that this gives me momentum for tomorrow.
And so, what's your plan for the final? Any change of strategy? What do you think? How are you going to take it?
じゃあファイナルのストラテジーもう決まってますか？それとももうまたちょっといじろうとか思ってますか？
いくつか考えてるんですけど、どれが最適かっていうのは全然わからないですし、レースの流れを見てその場で決めて、で、いつも通り一番いいストラテジーを取って、で、チャンピオンを取れるように頑張ります。
Yeah, so I have a few ideas, but I don't know who's going to come up. So the flow of the race is going to decide which strategy I'll go with, and yeah, I'll give it my best.
Of Of course. Well, congratulations. You are your region champion, and yeah, good luck in the grand final.
はい、じゃあおめでとうございます。リージョンチャンピオンです。ファイナルでのご健闘もお祈りしています。
Thank you so much.
Well, great to catch up there with Takuma Miyazono, the Asia-Oceania regional final champion. What a brilliant race that was. I mean, I've just about got my breath back from that. That final lap as well between Suzuki and Kokubun. Just incredible.
Yeah, nice to see some respect after yesterday, eh? I was so surprised to hear Miyazono be like, yeah, I was just like screaming internally.
Let's have a look, shall we, at this battle then between Suzuki and Kokubun. Kokubun, of course, on the quicker compound of tyre in the closing stages against Suzuki. But I have to say, fair play to Suzuki. He gave it as good as he got, didn't he? He did not back down.
Yeah, over the rise here, I was really surprised to see Kokubun have this issue, and it of course led to some side-by-side action. This was just before that, sorry. This is when Kokubun went all the way around the outside. This is a great move, to be honest, and these cars just shows you the difference in the tyre grip between soft and medium. But then, you know, a lap later, we had this. We had Kokubun and Suzuki side-by-side the entire time. You can see Suzuki how much he's struggling on that medium. Every time he turned into the corner, he had 4 or 5 corrections, just trying to keep alongside Kokubun on that faster tyre. So it's such a good job of just not running into him, to be fair. And it feels almost unfair that he now goes into the repechage after such a strong race, but them's the brakes.
That is quite how it works, unfortunately. Yeah, so unfortunate for him, but huge congratulations to Kokubun for just making that stick. It was simply incredible. And yeah, as I say, 4 drivers already for the repechage. We know who they are going to be, but of course, only the top 3 from that event will go through. It's going to be pretty spicy. Let's have a look, shall we, and just remind you of the points coming into this one. So the points that are rewarded after each race. So the top 3 do score points in their regional finals. The repechage will also score points, but fewer of them. And then, of course, the grand final, which happens here on Sunday. You can see there 24 points for the win, 20 for second, 60 for third, and so on all the way down into 10th place. So plenty of things up for grabs. Anyway, let's head down to Julia before we get the next of our regional finals underway.
Well, before we get into that, you might have noticed that it's a certain video game's 25th birthday, 25th anniversary. I mean, we may have mentioned it like a couple of times. And so if you've opened up the game recently, you will see, of course, you've got some cool campaigns running. So, of course, the very, very first one is if you do any of the 25th anniversary races, you're going to get your own X2019 special livery. Only for this, so make sure you click on that and do some of the races. And then, of course, if you think that you can predict some of our winners over the course of the weekend, if you think you're that clever, then if you go into the bonus campaign, you've got the chance to win over 3 million credits, which is... That's a lot. That's a lot of credits. And of course, if you are actually watching the stream as well, then you can click on the viewers campaign, and you can also answer a question that you will only know the answer to if you stick with the stream. And also, again, you have the chance to win a whole load of credits as well. But that's enough of awesome prize giving for now. Let's get on to some more awesome prize giving, and I'll kick it back over to Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Jules. So back over to the GT desk and back to the EMEA regional final. Now this one, Jimmy, is a very interesting kettle of fish. We've of course got our drivers from the EMEA region. You can see Valerio Gallo there, Giorgio Mangano, who triumphed yesterday in one of the races for the Toyota GR GT Cup. A lot of talent here in this field and a lot of opportunity up for grabs. They of course qualified earlier on today, same car and circuit combo as we had for the Asia-Oceania region a few minutes ago, and this is how it all played out. In the early pace setter was Valerio Gallo, but after Thomas Laboutelet put in a banker right towards the end, he was looking very, very strong.
Yeah, great lap by Laboutelet, actually quick enough to put him faster to Coca Lopez in second there. Gallo there, I'm not sure if that's happy or not with him, but third place provisionally in the qualifying. But big surprise, Jose Serrano last. But look at that gap between first and 10th. 3 tenths of a second. I'd be so frustrated if I was Serrano.
I'd love to be 3 tenths of a second off the back of these drivers, to be fair. 3 tenths, yeah, separating 10 drivers. I mean, that is setting up for a very, very spicy race. You can see there, Laboutelet starts on pole then with Lopez Gallo. Sarithan Seelan, the British driver, in P4 on the outside of the second row of the grid. Then it's 2 Frenchmen on row 3 with Drumont and Beauvoir, Nikita Moisov, Nico Romero P8. Then it is Mangano and Serrano bookending the 10-driver strong grid. So, all to play for then here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to this one. I think see drivers right now just getting a little bit of prep time down the bottom there. There is Jose Serrano starting from the back of the grid. It's going to be a difficult one for Serrano. We know he's fast. We know he has the ability to cut through the field, but this is a very, very strong group of drivers. So it's going to be a tough ask there for Jose.
What about Valerio Gallo then? Of course, he is the reigning champion after dominating last year in the World Finals that we had. Can he do the double, though, this year? I mean, he's got a fairly tall order because there is a lot of talent in that field.
He's not really had a good season so far, Tom. He's had a lot of issues. Yesterday it wasn't great for him either. And you can see some stats there. And stats-wise, Gallo blows Serrano out of the water. 9 wins from 20 races, almost a 50% win ratio, which is not bad at all in this competition to 2 wins for Jose Serrano. But definitely not worth discounting either of these drivers. Both of these drivers on their day, untouchable.
Well, of course, we are racing in a different car and circuit combo in the EMEA region to what we had in the Asia-Oceania region just a few minutes ago. So let's talk you through the vehicle of choice for this EMEA regional final, because it's something a bit special. 3 years ago here, we had the unveiling of this car. It is the Lamborghini Lambo Vision GT. V12 engine, 6.5 litres, 819 kilos, 774 horsepower. And that's the car that the drivers are going to be having to contend with for the EMEA regional final.
3 years. Oh, we're getting old, mate. I didn't think it was 3 years. But anyway, these guys are driving at Monza. Seems fitting, of course, the Lamborghini, both Italian-made. Racing medium and soft tyres to be used, just like we saw in the last race. 18 laps here. Big Sens. I'm predicting Big Sens T1. T1 in any sim race at Monza is always just a bit of a meme. I'm hoping for the sake of our drivers, it's not, but... I mean, I think the brakes aren't as great on this car as the drivers are used to.
Well, what I've heard basically is the engine braking is really important. You need to literally just smash the left paddle to try and downshift it and get the car stopped. Otherwise, apparently the brakes, you're braking at the 200-metre marker, basically, to get it slowed down. So even if you're 20 metres too late, that could be the difference between you making the corner and ending up in the middle of Monza.
And of course, bear in mind, these cars are capable of well over 200 mile an hour. So braking from even 200 metres in the corner is pretty damn impressive. But I'm looking forward to seeing Big Sens. Hopefully no one's going to send it over the barrier.
Into the old banking.
That's our fingers crossed there. Here are the predictions again for tyres. Now, we saw actually, you know what, to the credit, I owe some drinks, don't I, last time, because these guys were spot on with that tyre strategy behind the scenes there. 8 laps in the soft, 10 laps in the medium, 0.9 of a second difference. Similar to Watkins Glen, Monza, more about straight line speed and traction zones than anything else. So you can sort of get away with part-worn tyres around it compared to maybe a more technical circuit. So we'll see how the tyre strategies play out as the race gets going.
Well, this is going to be an exciting one. Preparations are taking place here now. So 18 laps for our drivers to contend with. Medium and soft tyres available for them as well, just to remind you. And of course, they must use each tyre compound at least once. And they can, of course, start on different tyre compounds. So let's see what it's going to look like once we get this one underway. There is Baptiste Beauvoir. A pensive face for him. He's slightly nervous coming into this one. I spoke to him a little bit earlier on. Likewise, Ruth and Seelan just in the background of your picture there. Here's the grid lined up. Then it's Thomas Laboutelet who starts on pole position. Coque Lopez alongside him on the front row of the grid. Then it is the Italian on home soil here at Monza, heading row 2, Valerio Gallo, with Ruth and Seelan on the outside of row 2. Next up, it is the all-French duo of Kylian Drumont, the winner from the World Series Showdown, Baptiste Beauvoir. Can he manage to get the better of his compatriot or indeed onto the podium? Then it is Nikita Moisov, P7, the Czech driver, followed by Nico Romero from Spain. Final row of the grid is comprised of Giorgio Mangano, the second of the Italian drivers, with Jose Serrano, man who's been very quick so far in 2022, right at the very back of the field. JB, top 3 on softs.
Yeah, predictable. As we always see, softs are the quicker tyres to get on those quickly. But the thing is, this is Monza. Slipstreaming round here is it's the name of the game. So if you can stay close in that medium compounder tyre, you can sort of negate the fact these guys have gone for a quicker start. But Valerio Gallo, we know, will be very aggressive from the start. We know how much this means to him. I spoke to him yesterday and he said the real racing starts starts today. He's taking the Nations Cup very seriously, so I don't think we're going to see any caution at all from him in this race.
No, I think you could be quite right. Let's see what is going to happen then. 18 laps for our drivers in the EMEA regional final. Top 3 will progress through automatically to the grand final. P4 to P7 go through into the repechage. P8 to P10 we will say goodbye to, and they will go no further than here. So the field warming up their tyres, warming up their brakes, ready to go for the rolling start here at Monza. It'll be Thomas Laboutelet who leads the field across the timeline. The EMEA regional final here in Monaco is underway. Thomas Laboutelet then leads the field across the green flag, followed by Lopez, followed by Valerio Gallo. Of course, the disadvantage for Laboutelet being in the lead is he doesn't have the the slipstream in front of him, but look at how early they're going to have to brake in towards that first corner with cold tyres and cold brakes. Leboutelet is already running a bit deep. Here comes Gallo up the inside of Coque Lopez, already through into second place. He's going to be able to mount a challenge here on Leboutelet on the run through the curve of Grandi. Then I think he might be. It's going to be Gallo going from third to first in the space of 2 corners, and I think Coque Lopez is going to try and follow him through. So on the run down to the De La Roggia we go. Lopez then tries to go on the outside as Gallo leads the way. Hit your braking park here, boys, as they go into the chicane. So Gallo from Lopez from Leboutelet into the Lesmos.
I told you he wasn't going to hang around. Gallo already up into the lead now. I think going to try and make that gap to the background. Sealing a little bit wide. Was that contact there with Drumont through the first Lesmo? We'll have to see if we get a replay or not. But they're still having contact. Drumont gets biffed hard there from Sealing. And he's round in the background. The spin there. Can't quite see it on this camera angle, but Gallo still leading away from Coque Lopez. Now he's going to be given the draft to Lopez and Leboutelet. Sealing is still there in the background. That's got to be a slam dunk penalty for Sealing there. From what I can see, he just biffed Drumont off into the gravel.
He spent the top 3 to break away there on the soft tyres. Everybody else on the medium compound is all kicking off in the midfield there as they headed into Ascari. Lots of slipstream overtakes taking place, but Gallo then trying to already pull out an advantage over Coque Lopez. It's going to be so hard here to break away with that slipstream, and you can see Gallo running a little bit wide there into the final corner of the Parabolica, and as they run down in towards the start-finish straight, this is where that slipstream will become ever more prominent. You can see as we ride on board here with the Lambo V12, Serafin Sealing is going down the order, has just lost a couple of places there, and I think he might have had some kind of a bigger incident because he just keeps going tumbling down the timing sheets. But at the start of lap 2, it is Gallo from Lopez from Leboutelet.
I think these cars are a little bit, you think they're more aero than they actually do, so you're seeing Gallo there trying to put the car into the corner, just 4-wheel slide out of it as the tyres give up. Coque Lopez are looking at the back of Gallo. Now Lopez and Gallo have raced together a lot over the last few years, so I'm wondering if we'll see just a little bit of cooperation there. Maybe Coque Lopez not going from even now a replay. So here's what happened. We're on board with Sealing. You've got, I think, push wide there. Drumont in front. Sealing then gets on the brakes. Biff, round he goes into the gravel. And just I think not intentional, but it is for Sealing.
That's a slam dunker there for Sealing, unfortunately, isn't it? And well, we did talk about the brakes; they're not quite as effective as they would like. Sealing there, just missing his braking point by a few metres, going into the back of Kylian Drumont. As you said, not intentional at all, but I think the stewards will probably have something to say about that. On board, we ride here with Coque Lopez. Nico Romero has been given a penalty for colliding with another car. 2 seconds there for the Spaniard. It was all kicking off in the midfield in the first part of the first lap. So I wonder what might have happened there for the Spaniard, and hopefully we'll get a replay of exactly what has gone wrong for him. But you can see the drivers there just slamming it down the gearbox, and look at how much they're even struggling for grip mid-corner. Snap of oversteer there for Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, these Michelin tyres doing a good job. There's only so much they can do with this amount of speed going into the corner. You have to think. Look at the speedo there in the top right hand, or in the bottom right hand corner, sorry. 340 Ks, 350 Ks in the draft. And you imagine the brakes is far too late. He's had to go for the lunge to try and avoid hitting Gallo there. That wasn't an intentional overtake by Lopez, but he made it work. Up the inside, Lopez goes to Gallo. I could feel the panic there of Coque Lopez. Oh no, send it up the inside. And even the guys in the audience are thinking, oh, that was a bit cheeky, Coque.
I bet his backside was twitching like a rabbit's nose going into that chicane. Fair play to Coque Lopez for getting that car stopped. He goes through into the race lead, but runs it a bit wide under De La Roggia. That's going to leave him under attack here from Valerio Gallo. Fortunately, it's so much one at a time into the first Lesmo, but it's really bunched this top 3 up now. As you can see, they've got a 3.1 second advantage over Nikita Moisov, who's made great progress in the opening couple of laps. 3 seconds off the back of this field, and 1 second ahead of Jose Serrano. Still, Ruth and Sealing getting a 1 second penalty for that first lap incident, as we thought. But now, Leboutelet's going to be the driver who's going to be trying to attack Gallo here, so Gallo could be going from first to third in the space of a lap.
No, I spoke to Valerio Gallo earlier, and he said these are some of the hardest cars I've ever driven. They are difficult cars to get round to. You see there is Lopez's move, just about sends it up the inside there. I think that was fair.
Fair play to Valerio Gallo. He saw him coming up the inside, because he probably would have been looking in his mirror thinking that's not going to happen. And then he was like, oh, it is happening. I'll give him a bit of room, because that could have been a plane crash effectively into that first turn. Kylian Drumont picks up a 1 second penalty for colliding with another car, so it's a bit of a penalty galore session at the moment for the drivers in the mid-pack. It's all kicking off between them, and you can see now as Lopez leads the field across the timing line at the start of lap 4 of 18. He has got 2 seconds of a buffer over Valerio Gallo. Thankfully, no outbraking manoeuvres into that first turn, except for Lopez. I think he ran it a little bit deep there, and possibly he's left himself under a bit of attack on the corner exit from Gallo.
He did, but he just sort of sat on the apex there on the exit, and didn't give Gallo any sort of way to use that traction, use that better line Gallo now, I think, maybe thinking it's not worth the big sends at this point of the race. We know how easy it is to get it wrong under braking on this car, and we're seeing how many people are picking up penalties. So getting a penalty now is going to be awful for their race. I think they're just trying to focus on making the best of his soft tyre as Gallo goes wide there onto the AstroTurf on the left. Be careful, that stuff out there drags the car out. And now we go onto the back straight, half a second behind Lopez now. We'll gain that back. The draft in these cars is significant, and you're seeing there at the timer in the top left, 4 tenths, 3 tenths as we go up to now towards Ascari, and Gallo pulls ever closer. But only 4 laps down in this race. It's been quite a bit of action so far. It looks like it's a tiring car to drive this one.
Yeah, it certainly does. You can see the fatigue already on Valerio Gallo's face. I mean, I spoke to him, as I said earlier on, and he was saying about the brakes on this car. I remember I spent a day with him at Brembo earlier on this year when we made a feature for Gran Turismo, so maybe he needs to get some bigger calipers on that Lambo VGT machine there. But as he comes through the final corner, he's sat in that unfortunate position of trying to attack and trying to defend. I mean, JB, you've done a fair bit of racing before. What's it like when you're in a bit of a sandwich?
You just try and focus on the car in front, really. You try and focus on catching the guy there. You have a little look in the mirror every now and then, but if you drive in the mirrors, you end up making a few more mistakes, really. So it's better just to look forward, try and push forward, and then make it so you aren't in that position anymore. Try and overtake and put away from there. But also, at this stage, these guys aren't stupid. They've been around in the Gran Turismo community for a long time, especially Lopez and Gallo, and they're all just working together at this point. I don't think they want to be making any overtakes. I mean, if they... From their perspective, if they can sort of stay within a second of each other, they can sort it out later on in the race.
I have to say, the medium runners have all sort of spread out. They're not within slipstreaming distance, any of the competitors at all, really. I suppose the closest battle we've got is between 4th and 5th, which is Moisov versus Serrano. They're 1.2 seconds apart from one another, but I mean, actually, Beauvoir and Drumont are not far away from each other, and Mangano's been given a 1-second penalty here for illegal blocking. We haven't seen what that's all about, but I presume that's probably moving too many times on the straight.
The problem is the medium runners all just battered each other at the start of the race, so like... you do that, you fall off. We saw it yesterday in the Toyota Cup, so it can happen here too. So just joined us, welcome. We're on lap 5 of 18 of the EMEA regional final at the moment. Top 3 go through to the grand final on Sunday. Put that in your calendar. 4th to 7th go through to the repechage, which will be sorted out today, and 8th to 10th will go no further in this competition. On board with Thomas and the Boutelet. Been around for a little bit, not as long as the guys in front has Thomas, but a very capable talent, and hanging with Gallo at the moment. The Coque Lopez actually starting to pull a little bit of a gap there over Valerio Gallo. 8 tenths is a gap now as we come over the start-finish line, down towards T1, braking once again. Gallo's got to be careful, he doesn't calm down too much.
Yeah, absolutely right. So lap 6 out of 18 we are on then. So 12 laps to go till the checkered flag. Of course, there are still pit stops to come in this race. Just to remind you, soft and medium tyres available for our drivers. They must run each tyre compound at least once during this race. So the top 3 and the softs, they want to try and stretch those for as long as they possibly can. We're fortunate to have a bit of tyre data in our commentary box on the screen, and I can tell you that the front tyres about sort of 60 to 70% for the front runners, and the rear tyres again about sort of the same. Compared to the medium runners from Nikita Moisov, they're on about 70 to 80% on the fronts, and again much the same on the rears. So they're wearing out at a fair old rate of knots differently.
Here's a replay of Gallo's amazing start. We're P3 at the moment, just come away from the start-finish line. Lewis goes a little bit deep into T1 here, puts himself on a bad part of the circuit. Coque Lopez then tries to react to that. Gallo goes, thanks, I'll take that, mate. Gets a better run out of the chicane than the Boutelet does. There you go, up into P1, just like that. That's how you do it.
Lovely stuff from Valerio Gallo. What a brilliant getaway he's had in this race. Coque Lopez still leading the field, and I have to say, if anything, he's beginning to pull out a bit of a gap here over Valerio Gallo, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Just a reminder, we are live in 7 different languages, of course, including the Spanish guys. They're very much enjoying Coque Lopez's domination at the moment, so yeah, go away, Spaniards, get out of there. Get out. But yeah, he is, and actually the Boutelet also falling off the back of Gallo. So we're going back down the field now. We've not actually kept an eye on this. And Jose Serrano, who did start last in this race, is now up to P5 and harrying Nikita Moisov.
Yeah, having a really good run is Jose Serrano on the medium combat of tyres. He's going to think about a lunge down the inside into the first corner. Well, decides not to on this occasion, unlike his compatriot Coque Lopez that we saw earlier on in this race coming out of the chicane. Look at the great drive that Nikita Moisov was able to get out there. That's what it's like when you get the traction hooked up, and he's just able to give himself that little bit of a buffer as they come through the Curva Grande. I mean, I'll never forget, was it Mark Webber and Fernando Alonso who went side by side going through there a few years ago? Vettel it was, of course. Yeah, he ended up in the gravel, didn't he?
Yeah, it's bad knowledge, mate. Get out. But you know, what I found really impressive there about Serrano is he was using every bit of the circuit in the way into T1, whereas the rest of the drivers seem to be trying to survive on the brakes. So maybe he's got a handle on this Lamborghini Vision GT car altogether now. There is the tyre strategy as we think it will play out. So that is true. We're going to see a couple of drivers pitting in on the next lap, the top three, Lopez, Gallo and Labutale. At the moment, though, Serrano getting closer and closer to Moisov.
Yeah, it certainly is. So let's see whether the Spaniard can launch an attack on him. I think they need to be a bit careful that they don't get involved in too much of a skirmish, because look who's behind, the winner of the World Series Showdown, Kylian Drumont in 6th place, ready to pick up the pieces should anything come awry between those two.
He has been gaining, Drumont, just looking at the sectors, a lot faster. So at the moment, Drumont is on a bit of a charge after getting battered around at the start of the race a little bit, as did many of the drivers here going into the fair. Interesting, Drumont now has come into the pit lane onto the soft compound tyre, as has Baptiste Beauvois. So he's got to work them together now. They go, right, okay, listen, we're kind of already out of it. Let's try and change that. It's gone to soft tyres now. Try and draft each other and then make some time back over the course of the race. So watch out for the French guys and Magno and Sealand, actually. They're going to be quick towards the end of the race. And Lopez, Gallo and Labutale, they do have a gap now. Might not be. Is Nicky Romero coming back through the field? He has not made a stop yet, but yeah, not had a good start so far, unfortunately.
So Nicky Romero then emerging just behind Kylian Drumont, or Kylian Drumont emerging just in front of Nico Romero, I should say, rather. So Beauvois, it's kind of not worked out particularly well for him at this point. I suppose the one advantage he's got that slipstream here, but he's in a bit of a sandwich. I think he needs to wait for Romero to work out his different strategy and try and dispose of the Spaniard before too long.
Yeah. Beauvois needs to just pull off a fat scent now on Romero and stay with Drumont in front. You don't want to be staying here because Romero is on that medium compound tyre. It's going to be a bit slower for him. It looks like a lot they've got to crank on to get this car round the corner. You see these tyres really struggling with the power of this car. And now onto the back straight. It's going to have a little bit of a slingshot here by Romero. Let's see if he goes to the move. He does go defensive to Romero, but I think he just lets him have it. He knows he's not on the same strategy. He knows he's not really in the same race. And Beauvois goes up into second.
Serrano and Moisov have come to blows. There's an incident under investigation between those two. Serrano now ahead of the Czech driver. Let's see if we can piece together exactly what happened. So Serrano was behind going into the Della Roggia. Moisov was getting it a little bit out of shape, ran onto the gravel, moved over on the line. There's always going to be a closing gap, and Serrano's always going to have the momentum, so you can't really go and do that, and then gave him a bit of a biff just for good measure.
Yeah, I don't think it was intentional, that one. It's just a little bit of over-under in there. No further action there, but just a little bit of a mistake there, and it causes that. So more pit stops going underway. We've got Romero in. He's going on to the soft compound of tyres. Serrano's just come out of the pits. Let's see where he is. Oh, there you go. He's behind Beauvois just, and behind Kylian Drumont. And now Serrano is he's definitely done better than his qualifying. He's done P10, he qualified in P10, now in P6, but he's going to see if he can do two better, get by Beauvois and Drumont. And Labutale also has come into the pits as well. Sorry, I missed that one. So he's coming, gone to the medium compound tyre. Got a fat old gap though. Look at that. That's a massive gap.
He certainly has. The thing is, he's got, what, 6.87 seconds, let's say, there and thereabouts to Drumont behind. There's enough laps for Drumont to try and close the gap down. What's it, about 8-9 tenths of a second between them. So we could see what we saw in the Asia-Oceania regional final with Cockerman, using those soft tyres to close up in the latter stages. But it hasn't worked out, as you say, for Serrano or indeed Nikita Moisov, because they've now dropped behind the two Frenchmen. It has worked out beautifully for them. There's a big,
from Lopez.
Yeah, it was a big moment there coming through. So let's have a look at this replay. Oh, Gallo biffed into the back of Lopez, and unfortunately, not too much harm done there, but I mean, that just goes to show how easy it is to get sucked in on the braking zone.
What happened there? Well, there's a mistake from Lopez, but they both pitted, so unfortunately we didn't get to show you the end of that. Lopez comes into the pit box. There is Gallo as well in the pits. So let's see where they are when they come out, because we know there was a mistake on the way in there.
I wonder if this is going to cost them time, because they both would have lost time on that inlet there, and it might allow Labutale to try and challenge and take over the race lead. Let's see as they come out of the pit. Yeah, you're quite right. They are out just, what's that, 2.6 seconds. So, yeah, they've got a comfortable advantage there. And indeed, you can see that is the advantage that they have. So here is Baptiste Beauvois right behind Kylian Drumont. Now, this is going to be a great battle of the Frenchmen then in 4th and 5th place respectively. Just to remind you, the top 3 automatically go through into the grand final. P4 to P7 into the Repechage, the last chance qualifier, which will take place later on here this evening. P8 to P10 go no further. At the moment, on lap 10 out of 18 rather, I should say, it is advantage Coque Lopez, but the top 3 on the medium tyres, Kylian Drumont, Baptiste Beauvoir, Serrano, etc., only about 6 or 7 seconds down the road, and they've got time to close up.
Yeah, a warning there for Gallo for that contact with Lopez. The right choice, I think, there. Me and the stewards, we made up after yesterday. We had a handshake. We're good friends again now. But yeah, Coque Lopez with an 8/10 advantage. Now, what's going to be interesting is Drumont and Beauvoir. They need to work together. They need to not be having lunges at each other every lap. They need to just focus on bringing that gap down. Once they get there, do what the hell you like. But until then, make sure you get there. So here is the gap visually. Lopez, Gallo and Le Boutelet off the back a little bit there. I wonder where he lost that time. I mean, maybe just being a little bit earlier, not being in the draft.
Yeah, I think he could be right. I wondered whether I said he might be able to take over the lead, but I could have been further from the truth there for Le Boutelet. So he's got a fair bit of work to do. He's going to be kind of stuck in no man's land. He's got no toe immediately in front of him. That gap between himself, Drumont and Beauvoir, the trio of Frenchmen in 3rd, 4th and 5th place, coming down to now under 4 seconds for the first time. You can see Drumont and Beauvoir drafting one another. There is Serrano with Nikita Moisov very close in tow behind as well. So 4 drivers all relatively close to one another, and it's the man up the road that they need to hunt down and try and challenge. But there's only one place, and there's 4 drivers who are going to close up here.
I'll say the absolute precision required in these cars to break that lane with a car right in front of you is insane. These cars reach upwards of 350 kilometers an hour, about 215 mile an hour down the straight down here. And then you have to nail the brakes and pretty much slow it to a crawl through the first chicane. You're doing that with a car about 10 metres in front of you, and to predict when the guy's going to brake in front, it takes a whole new level of concentration and skill. And these guys always amaze me watching them here. Of course, we're on lap 11 now of this 18-lap race at Monza. Drumont is gaining on the Boutelet in front. The gap is now down to just 2.5 seconds. It's not going to be long before they're on the back of him.
Well, we always talk about the crescendo in the Gran Turismo World Series, and this is exactly what is happening here in this race. It's setting us up an absolute treat. Baptiste Beauvoir, quickest lap time of the day in this race here, sitting in P5 as it stands at the moment, right on the coattails of this man, Kylian Drumont.
That draft definitely helping, and there is a Boutelet there just in the foreground of our picture, and they are gaining. That's really going to help. Drumont just hang him on a little bit. Right, okay, there he is. Let's hunt him down. I can guarantee there will be no love lost between the Boutelet and Drumont, despite, of course, being compatriots, both being French at this point, and with Drumont and Beauvoir on the soft compound tyre, this is going to be quicker. It's going to be quicker in every traction zone, in every braking zone. And if you're the Boutelet, you're in that mirror. Beauvoir there goes for a half move. I think maybe just braked a little bit too late. They're trying to scrub a little bit of speed by going to the inside. But that did cost them a little bit on exit. Meanwhile, at the front, Gallo and Lopez still only 6 tenths between them at the moment. This is very close to cool. Coque does fairly well around Monza. He likes the circuit.
Just to give you an idea of the difference in pace between 3rd and 4th place. Le Boutelet on the medium tyre, Drumont on the soft tyre. Le Boutelet 133.8 last time around. Kylian Drumont 131.9. 1.9 seconds quicker than his compatriot there in 3rd place. You can see what the live points rankings would be if the checkered flag fell now. Of course, there are a handful of points on offer, but only for the top 3 finishers. It would be great for Valerio Gallo, who would extend his points haul and end up on 9 points. Lopez Drumont will be tied for 2nd. Serrano there with 5 points, and Le Boutelet with 4. But that, I guarantee, will be set to change before the checkered flag falls.
Gallo, they're losing a little bit of time mid-sector, actually, to Coque Lopez. So Gallo doesn't give a response for Lopez at this point of the race. We're still on board with Baptiste Beauvoir over the shoulder cam in this Lambo VGT car, who's come down now to the Parabolica. They brake so early in these things, down through the gears. Oh, and Beauvoir's made a mistake, big mistake. He's covered it up, has he? How the hell did he keep that? A round of applause for Baptiste Beauvoir, but he gets a 0.5. Come on, he saved it. Come on.
Oh, goodness me. He's left himself under attack here from Jose Serrano as well. So let's see how Serrano will take on this battle now. He's in the slipstream, sitting behind the Frenchman. Is he going to go for a lunge and down in towards the first chicane? He certainly is. He pulls out of the slipstream. Can he get the car stopped? It's really close between the two. Beauvoir sees him there. Serrano has to go over the sausage curve on the inside. He's not quite able to make that move stick. But Beauvoir, with that half-second penalty, he is going to fall behind the Spaniard here, and it's cost him very dear, that mistake, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's still regarded as an unforced error by Baptiste Beauvoir. No one made him do that, and it has cost him that 0.5-second penalty. But still somehow miraculously, I want to say, saved the season there from Baptiste Beauvoir, and giving a little bit of a respite there as Serrano goes wide at the exit of the second chicane. So Beauvoir will serve this penalty right here on the second straight. So we'll see if he is close enough to keep himself going and stay in the draft of Drumont in front.
And just to remind you that penalty for Beauvoir is awarded automatically by the game, effectively. It isn't one that's been deemed by the stewards. Let's have another look and see exactly what happened. On board here with Kylian Drumont. So he's on the white line. I think he's going to get out of shape. Yeah, loses the rear on the entry of the corner. Manages to keep it out of the barrier. Fair play to Baptiste Beauvoir. Unfortunately, picks up a half-second penalty for his troubles, which is a huge shame there for him. And this is where he's about to serve that penalty coming out of Ascari. It's going to leave him open to attack here from Jose Serrano. He knows that, goes for the defensive line. Can he hold firm? Don't think he's going to be able to. Has to duck back into the slipstream now of the Spaniard and falls down to sixth place.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, but Leboutillet now, of course, under attack from Kylian Drumont. At the moment, they get the lap time difference there, taking out chunks and chunks of the car in front. That soft tyre is going to start getting a little bit worn at this point, but Drumont is now in the slipstream of Leboutillet for that last position, and then meanwhile behind them, Serrano and Beauvoir side by side. Beauvoir trying to take his place back from Serrano, goes a long way around, gets the move done. Good job there by Baptiste Beauvoir, driving angry now, I think, after that penalty, and now he's going to try and catch back up to Drumont and Leboutillet for that last automatic spot into the grand final. Gallo, meanwhile, is now right on the back of Coque Lopez.
Yeah, it's all been kicking off behind. We've not been able to keep an eye on what's happening in front, but Gallo has really closed that gap down up to 0.2 of a second. Just to remind you, on the bottom left of your screen, you can see P1 to P3 automatically advance to the grand finals. P4 to 7 go to the repechage. P8 to P10 will go home, unfortunately. That'll be the end of their Nations Cup as it stands. So, on board we ride here with Valerio Gallo. The gap now back up to 0.4 of a second. So despite closing up on the back of the Spaniard, he's not quite had an answer. And likewise, Drumont has not been able to challenge any meaningful moves on Leboutillet for third place. But they are running nose-tail, these 4 drivers, in fact, including Jose Serrano at the back of it. 3 Frenchmen all vying for third place, and 1 Spaniard at the back end of it as well. And only 1 opportunity to automatically progress through into that grand final here.
Drumont's rear tyres are fairly worn, and Beauvoir has gone for a lunge already. Look at this, Beauvoir charging back through the field. Just forces his way by Drumont, and is now on the back of Leboutillet. I told you, driving angry at Baptiste Beauvoir. He is on an absolute charge. He's not wasting any time in the system of Leboutillet. Now to the outside, up to P3 goes Baptiste Beauvoir. Thank you, mate. He says, I'm off. What a move by Baptiste.
Can he get the car stopped into the first chicane? Look at Serrano around the outside. I think he outbraked himself into there. Manages to get the car stopped without too much harm done. But it looked like he was going to send himself off into the old banking into that first corner there. But does manage to get the car stopped and emerges in P6 where he started. But now Baptiste Beauvoir on the soft combat of tyres is into the grand final. As it stands, Leboutillet will have to contend the repechage. And of course, where they finish in P4, P5, P6 and indeed P7 will determine where they start in the race for that repechage. So they want to finish as far up as possible. So even if Leboutillet can't manage to get that automatic qualification spot to the grand final, he will want to try and hang on to P4 for as long as he possibly can, so that he starts further up on the order.
That's right, Baptiste Beauvoir, his tyres not looking great, but he's absolutely rocketing away now from Leboutillet and Drumont. I think he knows maybe he's going to be in a bit of trouble towards the end of the race with tyres. They're just trying to make sure he's got a bit of a gap to manage that. We're on board with Jose Serrano as well. We saw him go a little bit deep and the first chicane on that one. He's now up behind Kylian Drumont, and they can't seem to get that close for the corner. On corner exit there, Serrano's just not quite got the traction on his set of soft tyres at the moment, but maybe we'll have a better lunge here down at T1. He's going to go for the draft once more, so he's going to tuck in behind Kylian Drumont. He's behind Leboutillet. His challenge just faltered to Drumont. He's just out of tyre, I think, Tom.
I think he could be completely spot on there. So Drumont trying everything he can to defend that position from Jose Serrano, but I think it's all going to be in vain as they come down in towards the braking zone for the first chicane. Drumont's going to try and hold it firm there on the inside, but I think Serrano's going to have superior traction. He's got track position there as well. He's got 5th place as a result and moves up into the top 5. Now his next target will be Thomas Leboutillet, unless Drumont can try and mount a challenge immediately as they come through the Curva Grande and into the Della Roggia. But look at the gap that Serrano's been able to pull out, so I think he could be completely spot on there, JB. Unfortunately, it looks like Drumont, I don't know if he's going to have too much of an answer here to the Spaniard.
All that action still going on, still 2 and a bit laps to go here. Your leader currently, Coque Lopez, from Valerio Gallo in second. Baptiste Beauvoir will be taking that last automatic qualification to the grand final on Sunday. As it stands, it'll be Le Boutelet, Serrano, Drumont and Moisov who go through to the repechage to have one last chance at Sunday's final. We're on board now with Jose Serrano looking in the back of Thomas Le Boutelet in front, just fell off the back of Coque Lopez and Gallo on that first stint, and now he's doing fairly well in these mediums, but just hasn't quite got the pace to hang with Baptiste Beauvoir, who's now extended the gap to just over a second.
Coque Lopez still leading the way, 7/10 of a second to the good of Valerio Gallo. I've just checked through the stats. Do you know the man who won the EMEA regional final in 2020? Coque Lopez. And of course, the Kimmy Miyazono won the Asia-Oceania regional final. What year is it? Meanwhile, on board we ride with his compatriot Jose Serrano, the winner of World Series Round 3, which we had earlier on in November. Jose Serrano trying to challenge against Thomas Le Boutelet. Down the start finish straight they come. It's penultimate lap time then here. Is he going to think about a lunge down into the first chicane? No, not quite at the moment. There's the live points rankings on your screen as it stands. 9 points it would be for Gallo, 7 for Beauvoir, 6 for Lopez, 6 for Drumont, 5 for Serrano.
I know you guys don't have this graphic at home, but I can tell you that Baptiste Beauvoir front left tyre is just down, just 16%. He is running out of soft tyres himself, is Baptiste Beauvoir. He's going to start feeling that in this car very soon, especially in braking performance. Can Baptiste hold on after what has been a fantastic recovery through the field after his massive moment and penalty? It's going to be tough. He's going to need these guys behind him to fight a little bit. It's 1.3 seconds now back to Le Boutelet. There are the tyre percentages. Look how much Beauvoir is struggling there compared to the cars around him. It's going to be a really tall ask for him to get to the end of these. I think he's just about going to manage it. Those rear tyres as well, really suffering. 16% on those rears.
The thing is, we know that once they get out to 10%, they really do start to fall off a cliff. And he's taking about 5% a lap out of it. Fortunately, there is only one more remaining here. But as we see Le Boutelet, Serrano and Drumont running nose to tail, bumper to spoiler as they come down this back straight. Hopefully Beauvoir has just got enough in his locker to not come under any immediate pressure, because that will be his qualification spot for the grand final, possibly under threat then here. So it is Lopez leading the field around across the timing line for the start of the last lap, followed by Valerio Gallo, 1 second separating those two drivers. Le Boutelet, Serrano, Drumont still very close to one another, but of course the point of contention is Beauvoir and his tyres, but now the point of contention is fourth place here, with Serrano trying to make a move on Le Boutelet. Le Boutelet does manage to go through and hold firm into fourth place and claim the apex, runs it a bit hot but manages to park his car in the right places. But is he going to leave him under attack through the Curva Grande? Serrano's got the advantage of the slipstream here as they come through the right-hander. Le Boutelet knows that, goes for that defensive line on the inside, but is it going to leave him open to an opportunity for Serrano up the inside into the De La Roggia? You bet it is. Here comes the Spaniard down the inside and into fourth place.
A bit wide there as well on the curb inside. Drumont tries to go for the move on the outside. He spins around there, so Drumont loses out. Le Boutelet gets a 0.5 second penalty there for going over the curb. I think Serrano there pretty much now is guaranteed P4 if he can just keep it clean and tidy, but all that fighting really helped Baptiste Beauvoir, whose tyres are now absolutely screaming, but he's only got half a lap to go. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Coque Lopez has pulled another 7/10 of a second over Valerio Gallo. We have to think there's been some sort of issue there for Valerio, but as it stands, Coque Lopez on for victory here in the EMEA regional final.
What a brilliant race this has proven to be for the Spaniard. Le Boutelet about to serve that penalty in towards the Parabolica. We go for the last time. Well, the last time we had the regional finals was back in 2020. The man who was on top was Coque Lopez, and he is going to repeat that feat here in 2022. The Spaniard finishes the race in first place and becomes the EMEA regional final champion here at Monza. Coque Lopez wins it from Valerio Gallo. Baptiste Beauvoir finishes in third place and is the last of the drivers to get that automatic qualification spot into the grand final for the Nations Cup. It will be Jose Serrano, Thomas Le Boutelet, Kylian Drumont and Nikita Moisov who have to contend with the repechage, and sadly we will say goodbye to Giorgio Mangano, Nico Romero and Saruthan Seelan from the Nations Cup competition. But what a race that was from Coque Lopez. An amazing drive. Just once he got himself out in front, didn't falter under pressure despite the gap ebbing and flowing as it did. He looked calm, he looked composed, and he takes the checkered flag.
Yeah, I mean, great race from Coque Lopez. He likes Monza, doesn't he? He likes that circuit, and very strong choker there. Baptiste there, P3, I think after that, a little bit of a hug. I think he's relieved after what was a pretty great recovery there. That is Baptiste of old. That is that aggression, that raw speed. I remember during 2020, he was so fast online, so great to get back again. Here are some highlights then from the EMEA regional final. It was a Bouteille at the pole position, but immediately went wide going down to the first chicane, and Valerio Gallo made an absolute awesome start, got by Coque Lopez off the line, then got by the Bouteille third to first in 2 corners. That is the Valerio Gallo we know. Unfortunately, down the field, Tarif and Seelan had contact with Kylian Drumont, causing a penalty there, and Drumont thinking, hey, what did you do that for?
Look at this, Lopez. I don't know how he managed to get that car stopped at all. Made a complete Horlicks of it going into the braking zone of the first chicane, but fortunately, great awareness from Valerio Gallo. Unfortunately, Gallo said, right, I'll just whack you up the backside going into the De La Roggia. That was a couple of laps later. And then we saw Baptiste Beauvoir getting it really, really close to the back of Kylian Drumont. This was in the latter stages once the pit stops had all worked out. This was the save of the century from Baptiste Beauvoir coming into the Parabolica. Got it on the white line, lost the rear, managed to keep the front of the car out of the barrier. Unfortunately, picked up an automatic time penalty, which was awarded in game.
I got a penalty for that.
Now, unfortunately, he was as frustrated as we were with that penalty. It didn't cost him too much, as he then drove very angry indeed, got past Kylian Drumont and Thomas Lemoutelet in very quick succession up into third place. It was a brilliant drive from Baptiste Beauvoir. Once he was there, he didn't look like he was under pressure, as Jose Serrano decided to outbrake himself down into the first chicane. I thought he was going to come to blows there with Kylian Drumont for a brief moment, but didn't do so. This is where it all kicked off on the last lap here for fourth place. Jose Serrano versus Lemoutelet. You can see Kylian Drumont getting it all out of shape onto the gravel. Fortunately, managed to keep it facing in the right direction. Lemoutelet picking up a half-second penalty for cutting track limits for his troubles as well, as Coque Lopez came across the line to win the EMEA regional final here in Monaco at Monza. What a great drive from the young Spaniards.
Come on, very happy there in the audience. I don't know who that was, but here are your confirmed final results. And Coque Lopez takes the win in the EMEA regional final from Valerio Gallo. Baptiste Beauvoir in third, securing that last automatic spot in the final. Serrano, Bouteille, Drumont and Moisov will go through to the repechage. Mangala, Romero and Tarif and Seelan, unfortunately, will go no further in this competition.
Well, there we are. The EMEA regional final lives up to its expectations, as it always does. Let's head down to Julia, who is with Coque Lopez at EMEA regional final champion.
He is indeed. How does it feel to be back? It feels a little while since we've had a bit of a chat.
Yeah, after the bad results, to be honest, of the beginning of the season, it's so nice, no? So enjoyable to be here again, to have the pace and to be fighting for the best, which is what I always pretended, and nothing else to say. I'm just so happy that everything went as expected.
Because also, I think, you know, Tom and Jimmy, there was that moment where you overtook Gallo. So this wasn't intentional. You're just, you know, trying to move out of the way.
Of course not. Actually, we all know with this car, sometimes when you shift down, the gear doesn't go in, so then you stop braking. And basically that happened to me. I couldn't put the second gear, so I was running wide and I didn't want to hit Valerio because that would be a penalty. So on the move to try to avoid him, I actually could stop the car and get the front. And we trained together. We knew our pace was good, so we just tried to push and not try to disturb.
Yeah. And then, you know, you just kept your cool, but was that quite stressful staying ahead? Because you know Gallo is not so far behind.
Yeah, I mean, I know how fast he is. Sorry, fast. But I also knew that in this combo I had a pretty good pace because, as I said, we trained together. So we actually, we both talked about not fighting until the last lap because it was the best for both of us to try to avoid the guys starting on mediums comeback, and that's what we did.
I mean, it worked. It worked for you. It definitely worked for you. So let's give a big round of applause to our regional champion for EMEA. Yes, Coque Lopez. Congratulations. Good luck in the grand final. I'm going to kick it back to you guys, Tom and Jimmy.
That reaction there from Coque Lopez. Just, I think... Very, very happy there, obviously. I think he was kind of surprised that he made that move on Valerio. Like, well, yeah, I kind of didn't mean to do it, but just missed a gear there. And as you say, awesome awareness there from Gallo to sort of see that coming.
Yeah, really, really good driving from them. This is Coque Lopez. As you can see, experience versus result, 14 Nations Cup races, 1 win in 2018, but at least he can add 1 more to the book.
That is a sad stat, isn't it? Yeah. When you look at it like that. But yeah, that doesn't really do Coque Lopez justice. Been around for a very long time. constantly in the top three, and then, as you say, adding another win there.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, he was the regional final champion for the EMEA region back in 2020. Repeats that feat here in 2022 as well. An amazing result from Koke Lopez. Very much looking forward to seeing what he is going to be able to do in the grand final for the Nations Cup here on Sunday.
Yeah, very much excited to see that. Of course, coming up, we have the Americas regional final. Going to be an awesome race there. Very much looking forward to that, and another amazing car track combination.
Yeah, absolutely right. Of course, the Americas regional final. It's going to be hugely exciting, this one, because we have got a bit of a humdinger for you. An old school racetrack, an old school car as well. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are going to recognise this car. It's very special indeed. We'll get into that very, very shortly, though. But I'm already sure to look out for in this one. Some massive names in here, of course, as well. Igor Fraga, Luke Spinelli in there. Robbie Heck did very well yesterday in the TGT before he was punted 2,000 or 3,000 times.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, it's not just about old cars that we've got here in GT. We've got some new ones to unveil as well. The Ferrari Vision Gran Turismo is going to be revealed here exclusively in Monaco. I mean, it's literally in a box. We haven't seen it at all. Not even a sneak peek.
Yeah, I went over there earlier on to try and have a look, and the man with a big stick.
Right, let's have... I think what we should do, though, is go to Julia, because I think she might know a bit more than we do.
I mean, I just sort of feel like people just follow you around with like a big stick anyway, Jimmy. That just seems like a logical thing. And actually, you know, Tom, you were talking about before, you know, in 2020, obviously, we announced, you know, the Lamborghini Vision G. We're standing literally over there with Stefano Domenicali, who's now, you know, head of F1, talking about the car. As you can see, this giant box is here, and we're not going to lift it just yet, but I do believe there is a little bit of a teaser video that they want to show you first. Well, I mean, it didn't tell us an awful lot, but it has made us a lot more excited. I mean, you guys, are you excited to see the new the Vision GT, chaps? What do you think? Yes? Yeah, on Sunday we'll show you the car, but until then, everyone stay away from there, because you get into trouble. Over to you, Tom and Jimmy.
Absolutely right, Julia. I mean, I can't wait for that, because we literally have no idea. And that video didn't reveal anything at all, did it?
No, I was expecting more. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, it's a Ferrari. That's what we know.
What we know is it's made in Italy. Anyway, let's kick it over then, shall we, to our third and final regional final here tonight. The Americas region, which takes place here this evening, because you can see that there is a wealth of talent on the field, like we've had in all of the regions here so far. 2018 champion Igor Fraga is in there, Angel Inestrosa, Robbie Heck, Lucas Benelli, Fabian Portilla. I mean, I'm really looking forward to this one, because if there's anything that we know about the Americas region, they are full of aggression and are full of a bit of passion as well.
Yeah, my boy Angel Inestrosa in there. Come on, mate, don't disappoint me. But of course, Igor Fraga as well, on a bit of a high after winning the TGT Cup yesterday. Did such a good job, dominated there. And I can't help but think this car and track combination is really going to suit him.
Well, of course, it's different to how they qualified, because we kept all of the conditions exactly the same for our regions. Big Willow Raceway in the Suzuki Pikes Peak Escudo. It was Angel Inestrosa, the man who got the early pace in the session from Adriano Carrazza and Lucas Benelli. We wondered whether that time would be better. Benelli tried his best, 46 thousandths of a way before the end of the session, though.
He's not very happy with that either, was he? I mean, these cars, we've been told, are very, very twitching. Getting the most out of them is tricky. Igor Fraga looking very disappointed. Actually, maybe in pain there at the end. Not sure if he's 100% well or not, but with fifth place, maybe that's why. Maybe he's allergic to finishing fifth. Who knows?
Qualifying results then. Angel Inestrosa, the Chilean, will start from pole position, followed by Lucas Benelli. Carrazza Portilla on the second row of the grid. Row 3, Igor Fraga, the 2018 champion, with the Argentinian Marza. Then it is Penel, Helt, Robbie Heck, and Adriano Carrazza, completing the 10-driver strong field here. So it is going to be a really exciting one for this race, because, as I said, different car and circuit combo for this one. An old school circuit as well. Let's have a look at two of our drivers for this. You can see Igor Fraga, 27 races, 11 wins. Adriano Carrazza, 31 races and 1 win. But yeah, we seem to talk about them in equal measure.
Yeah, well, they've all got more wins than me, I'll tell you that. But yeah, two very, very quick drivers in their own right. And can we please talk about the car and track now? I'm very, there it is. It's the McLaren MP44, the most successful F1 car in history, winning 15 of 16 races in the season it raced in there. 540 kilos, 675 horsepower, and I'm told by the guys down there, due to that very small engine displacement, this thing has a hell of a lot of turbo lag, so controlling this thing properly is going to be a real challenge for our drivers, and we're driving at Interlagos.
I can't wait. I love Interlagos. Proper old-school track, always produces good racing. 22 laps for the drivers to contend with, 3 times tyre wear, 2 times fuel consumption, and a grid start for them as well. Just to make it a little bit more tricky, they've got to get all of that power and all of that torque with all of that turbo lag away from the lights.
Yeah, whatever happens in this race, it's going to be absolutely awesome. And for me, as just an F1 nerd and a racing nerd in general, I'm just happy to see our guys take on this challenge. Igor was saying earlier on, there's some weird shifting tactics involved to try and get out of the corner, probably try and get rid of that turbo lag. So I'm wondering if everyone else has that stat in their mind as well.
Let's have a look, shall we, at the tyre strategy for this one, because of course we like to pick some variables. Soft and medium racing tyres available for them. If it goes as our strategy is predicted, 10 laps will be on the softs, 12 laps on the mediums, 11 laps on the mediums if you start on it, 11 laps on the soft, kind of 50-50 basically for the drivers. But we know that they like doing some funky things, and we've seen drivers before doing 2-stop strategies, maybe going for soft to soft and then having quicker pace and then going for the medium tyres perhaps as little as they can. But 10 drivers then ready to take to the grid here for the Americas regional final. It's at Interlagos, it's in the McLaren MP44, a grid start for the drivers. This is going to be exciting, and here is how the grid lines up for our third and last regional final. So then, it will be Angel Inestrosa from Chile who will start on pole position, and emphatic qualifying from him, with Lucas Benelli, the Brazilian, on home turf here, leading the field for the Brazilian drivers, with Adriano Carrazza heading row number 2. Fabian Portilla from Chile alongside him on that outside. Then it is Igor Fraga, the 2018 champ, starting from P5 with Marza, the Argentinian, lining up P6. Marc Pinel, the Canadian, great to see him back in the World Series, with Dean Helt for company alongside him. Ninth on the grid is Robbie Heck, the American driver, and bookending it is Mosso, the last of our Brazilian drivers. What is going to happen then down towards that first corner, and who is going to be claiming the checkered flag in 22 laps time? It's lights out and we're racing then. Good start from Inestrosa, not bad from Benelli. Look at Carrazza getting swamped there by Portilla. Down in towards the first corner we go, so it's Inestrosa who's got the whole shot, but keep an eye out for Benelli. He gets into the back there of Inestrosa, really messy in the mid-pack there too. The Brazilians running each other wide. Looks like that's Igor Fraga and Carrazza pushing each other off the circuit. Through in the left-hander we go, on the run down to the Descida del Lago. It's Angel Inestrosa who leads the way then from Benelli, from Portilla. Slipstream will be in effect here for these drivers. Into the braking zone there. Portilla got into the back of Benelli, pushes the Brazilian driver out wide. Portilla goes through into second, but I think the stewards might be having to have a look at that.
Yeah, just early corner instance. Tyres are cold. People are very keen at this point. Benelli look at the inside of Igor Fraga now. Goes up the inside. Benelli up into third place. And Marza there as well, looking around the outside. Can't quite make anything work at this point. But it's 4 soft runs at the moment at the front of the field. It was a great start from Inestrosa. Did exactly what he needed to do there from pole position. Fabian Portilla is up 2 places, but as we said, might be in trouble with the stewards for contact a bit early on. They make the way through the first sector for the first time. Now down, and Marza there off. I think he just spun to the right. Marza in all sorts of trouble now, facing backwards. So that's a disaster for the Argentinian driver here, but for Inestrosa, a dream start. 1.3 seconds now the gap to Portilla and Benelli behind. Fraga having to try and fend off Carrazza.
So Martin Marza down into 10th place, 7.1 seconds already off the back of the field. Igor Fraga, who we're looking at here, then in 4th place. He has got Lucas Benelli just up the front of him. Just behind him is Adriano Carrazza. Carrazza, of course, on the medium compound of tyre. It all got really messy into the first chicane there. I think there was a bit of a move. Dean Helt making his way up the inside of the Brazilian driver. He's on the soft tyres, is Dean Helt, so will have more grip under braking mid-corner and on the exit pretty much everywhere that you need it to make a move stick. And he goes up into P5 as we ride on board here with Fraga into the left-hander.
So early they're going to shift into 4th really early to try and just use the traction of this car. go up towards the hill now, and I think it's fair to say Igor's being left behind a little bit by Benelli and Portier in front, but Angel in the strokes the gap already up to 2 seconds. This man's charging, he wants this, he's going to take it by the scruff of the neck at this point. We're only 2 laps into the race, so a fast start, but we've seen already from Mazda, these cars are really difficult to drive on the limit, so it might be easy now when the tyres are fresh, but give it a few laps and we'll see how our guys get on.
Benelli and Portier under investigation for their collision on the first lap. We'll see what the stewards decide. From that, it is the 2 Chileans at the front, though. Angel Inostroza from Fabian Portier. We ride on board with the second of the Chilean drivers. Spoke to him yesterday. He was full of confidence and beaming from ear to ear to be back at one of these World Series events. And of course, here in the World Finals, it is a great opportunity, but that is not a great result for him. A 1-second penalty for that collision on the opening lap with Lucas Benelli. He's going to really put him on the back foot. He's already coming under pressure from the Brazilian driver. Martin Marza gets a penalty as well. 1 second for colliding with another car as Benelli closes right up onto the back of Portier through the Cenareses and on the run down the Descida de Largo. Is this going to be the opportunity that Benelli needs to try and find his way through? Of course, that penalty for Portier will put on the back foot anyway, but here comes Benelli running side by side with the Chilean as they come down the run in towards turn number 4, and he goes through into second place.
I don't think he really thought that too much, did Portier, though, saying that he's now tucked right under the rear wing of Benelli, coming up into the right-hand, long right-handed double apex this one. You have to make sure you hit that second apex, that's the important one. Then you have to try and slow the car down. Very easy to lock a tyre down here and go straight on. If you're not careful, Portier there, almost running to the back of Benelli. Let's have a look at the replay. So here's what happened on lap 1. I think this was Portier and Benelli. We go down towards the braking zone, just a bit late on the brakes there, not intentional, but it did cause Benelli to run wide. And he did gain a place from it, so the 1 second penalty there I think is fair.
So this is where he was about to serve that penalty in the worst possible opportunity on the circuit. Yeah, absolutely. Interlagos is known for being quite a high-speed circuit, and unfortunately he's going to have to deal with that. As I said, the worst possible place. There he goes. Igor Fraga goes through, and he's going to lose a place there to Dean Helt as well. So from bad to worse for Fabian Portier. 2 places lost as a result of that first lap collision. There's also another incident under investigation there. I think that was Carrazza and Fraga as the graphic flicks up on the screen. It must be Benelli and Fraga. I wasn't quite sure one of the 2, but nonetheless, that will be reviewed by the stewards. Meanwhile, though, Jimmy, Angel Inostroza is basically a different postcode compared to everybody else at this point.
Yeah, he likes to do this. He's a bit like Igor in that sense. He likes to lead from the front, as we say. So, a little reminder, if you've just joined us, it's the top 3 in these regional finals that go through to the grand final, which will be held on Sunday. Right now, it's Inostroza, Benelli and Fraga. 4th to 7th, I go to the Repechage to try and fight it out for one last chance of going through, and everyone else goes home. Well, say goes home, they get to just enjoy the rest of the time in Monaco here. I'm quite jealous, actually.
Lucas Benelli gets a warning for colliding with another car. That will be, I think, due to the first lap incident there between himself and Igor Fraga. So thankfully he gets away with a bit of a slap on the wrist, but any more of those sorts of discrepancies and the stewards will be coming down on him like a ton of bricks. Look at this great camera angle, really showing the undulation of this Interlagos circuit. It is one of my absolute favourites, and I know it's a favourite amongst the drivers as well, just because it's so fast and so flowing. Of course, it's an anti-clockwise circuit as well, so in the real world it's a real strain for drivers, especially with their neck, because of course you've got a lot more left-handers than you do right. Here is Igor Fraga in the slipstream of his compatriot, then coming down the start finish straight, and decided to just lift off, didn't he?
I was going to say the next straight not quite as bad in the incident. Not quite as bad. In fact, and maybe it's the posture check instead. You got to watch out for when you're sim racing. But to give you some idea of the pace of Inostroza right now, he's lapping. He lapped a second faster than Benelli on that last lap. He is on one. Here's the replay of Benelli. Actually had quite a good start there. B7 goes round the outside here and gets overtaken there by Dean Helt. It's on the inside here, and then just their contact at any point at all. I don't think there is. He just doesn't quite get out of the corner well, and then goes back down to P9. But you saw the contact between the 2 Brazilian drivers in the front there, one getting shoveled over the grass. I was kind of surprised there wasn't an auto penalty for that.
Yeah, that was Carrazza versus Fraga going into the first corner. Carrazza, I think, got a bit of a biff on the left-hand side into the side of Fraga, and it was a bit of concertina effect there, sending the 2018 champ off of the road. Thankfully, no harm done. The stewards not offering any penalties at this particular stage. I think they've just reviewed it and deemed it as a first corner racing incident. It is always a bit sketchy going down in towards that first turn, especially with a standing start. Here we ride on board then with Igor Fraga once again, bearing down on Lucas Benelli. Just a couple of tenths of a second separating those 2 drivers. Look at the advantage here of the slipstream. I think he's going to try and have a bit of a lunge on his compatriot. Then as they come across the timing line, goes for the inside this time. This is going to be a decisive move here from Igor Fraga. Going to be coming towards the centre res, or is it? Because Benelli does hold it around the outside. Great defensive driving there from Lucas Benelli to manage to hold firm into second. But is they going to compromise his run out of turn 3? And on the run down to the seated Largo, I think it is, because he runs it a bit hot. And Fraga's got great momentum, but he's not got the straight line speed because he's not quite able to duck into the toe. But he goes up the inside into the left-hander. Side by side they run. Fraga goes through into second. Great driving there from the Brazilian.
Maybe a little bit of contact there between the two. We'll see if the stewards have anything to say about that or not. But Fraga does get the move done. But he's 5 seconds now behind Angel Inestrosa. We'll see what the pace is like that time. By that time, by Inestrosa actually did a similar lap time to Igor Fraga. Looking at the fuel usage as well so far, they've all used the same amount of fuel, so there's nothing really in it. Inestrosa has just had a cleaner race so far. There are the live point rankings on your screen right now. Things finished as they were, but of course we do have a good chunk of the race left to go. There's Angel Inestrosa coming out of the last corner now. A good first stint, really, of this race for Angel Inestrosa. He's got a 5-second gap behind him, but he cannot relax. He's, I think, just keep working on that and use this soft tyre to its advantage now, whilst it's still good.
So here we are then, looking at the Chilean driver, almost out like he's out for a Sunday drive at this particular point. The last time that we saw Angel Inestrosa up the sharp end of the field in terms of taking a win was round 1 of the World Series in the Manufacturers Cup, as it was back in 2021, and that was blimey, June last year was the last time he was on the top step of the podium. In fact, I apologise, I'm completely wrong, because he won round 2 of the Nations Cup, didn't he, earlier on this year? So
who's this guy?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was misreading the stats there.
Get another one.
Oh, there you go.
Get another one. Here's Mosso. Didn't have a great start. He's on the medium compound tyre at the moment, so he's one of the drivers who opted to start on the slower tyre. I wonder what is the better strat round here. Interlagos is very heavy on tyres, especially that middle sector. So I do wonder if the soft tyre maybe will fall away a little bit quicker than usual. It's sort of one-handed there. Also doing it in style through the right hand. But up behind Carrazza, of course, was involved in that one incident. So there are the tyre strategies on your screen right now. We reckon that soft tyre will last to about lap 10, looking at the percentages that we can see on our end here. I reckon they might go a little bit further.
I think you could be quite right, yeah. The tyres don't look like they're wearing as badly as we expected, and the driver's doing a good job of keeping that wheel spin to a minimum. We saw them short shifting earlier on. You can really see the difference in tyre wear between the softs and the mediums on the tower graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. The softs, of course, considerably more worn than the 4 medium runners in this race at the moment. Of course, the medium tyres that bit slower, but have that bit more durability. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. You're looking here at 2 Brazilian drivers, not the one at the sharp end of the field, but a bit further back. This is Adriano Carrazza just in front of Artur Mosso as they come through the left-hander of turn number 3, and Artur closing up onto the back of Carrazza at the moment. Only 2 seconds back off of Robbie Heck, which is, to be honest, to all intents and purposes, given the pace difference, not too bad, given we've done 8 laps in this race.
Not bad at all. Of course, bear in mind they are fighting for 7th place, which might not seem significant, but it is, of course, that last spot in the repechage and the last chance to get through to the final. So this is a big battle for these 2 drivers. I wonder if we'll see any of that patented Carrazza aggression here. I mean, I think he's one of the most aggressive drivers on this hill, Carrazza. Incredibly quick as well, not to take away from him whatsoever. And a testament to that, as they are, as we said, not too far behind Robbie Heck on a faster compounder tyre.
This is going to be an interesting race to see how it all plays out. Here is Dean Hell, who was a driver that was in the wars yesterday in the Toyota Gazoo Racing GT Cup, and he's doing a good job sitting there in 4th place, kind of in no man's land really at this point. He's not close enough to latch onto the back of Lucas Benelli for that slipstream. He's 1.7 seconds out of the way. He needs to be about 1 second, 1.1 there and thereabouts to be within that slipstream range. And of course, Fabian Portier is not too far behind. Now this is a great view of exactly what it would be like to sit in the cockpit of this McLaren MP44. If you watched the Formula 1 race here a couple of years ago, Martin Brundle actually took one of these around the Circuit Centre's car as it was, and he said it was one of the most memorable experiences. And I can well imagine a car that's won 15 out of 16 races that it competes in must just be such a treat to drive around this circuit.
Well, that as well, of course, and the memories of the late great Ayrton Senna around here, and of course his very emotional home victory, of course, came a few years later than '88, but still a car that evokes a lot of memories, a lot of motorsport fans around the world. And it's an absolute pleasure to get to commentate on the virtual version of it, of course, here in Gran Turismo for the Americas final here. That number there on the top right, you're probably wondering what that is on the dash. That is the boost in bar. So 2.2, 2.3 bar we're seeing at a peak in this car. basically big turbo boost, big turbo lag, proper machinery.
Is the boost the same as it is on your Skyline?
Oh, I think my Skyline can do that for maybe for about a second, or things go to the moon.
Yeah, but it's like every car. Every car can do 9,000 RPM just once. That's kind of what it is. Fabian Portier is the first driver to come into the pit lane then at the end of lap 10. So he decides to chuck those soft tyres in the bin, get onto the medium tyres. So that's an earlier call, earlier than we were expecting.
Yeah, and as you say, I'm wondering if that soft tyre would go that distance. Portier, I think, has to make this move. He hasn't quite got the pace at the moment, so I think maybe he's going to try and go to that medium compound of that tyre and try and do something special on this second stint. And from the field, by the way, Fraga is actually gaining on the Stroza. It's taken about a second out of him since he got by Benelli, but you can see the different tyre there. The Stroza is using a lot more of his rear tyres than Fraga is.
Yeah, I wondered whether that may be the case because he was pushing so hard earlier on, almost like he was doing a couple of qualifying laps just to build out that gap. And the thing is, it's only, what, 8%, and that doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but given these guys are taking out 5 or 6% a lap on their tyres, that could be, and probably will be, the difference between him being able to go a lap longer than Fraga, and Fraga maybe being able to use that to his advantage and possibly try and close up that gap with the overcuts.
Yeah, I think Fraga will get there before the end of the race at this race. So keep an eye on that one, guys. It's going to be an interesting finale here. And as we say that, Stroza does come into the pit. So how much longer will Igor Fraga go on this set of tyres? Has he responded? Has he gone by? He has gone by, I think. So both Fraga and Benelli opting to stay out. Dean Helmo behind has opted to copy the leader and come in for a fresh set of those medium Michelin tyres.
So then, let's see how this is going to play out with Stroza, Helt, Karatza in the pit lanes, all going onto the medium tyres. Well, Stroza and Helt are. Karatza goes on to the mediums, from the mediums onto the soft tyres. Really long pit exit coming out of here at Interlagos. It feeds out past turn 3 and on the run down this back straight. You can see Stroza there emerges from the pit lane with a bit of clear air in front of him. That is quite nice there for Angel Stroza, because the last thing you want when you come out of the pits is to be stuck behind traffic, stuck behind somebody else on a different strategy.
Just realised that steering wheel only had 2 buttons. It was radio and boost. I can get behind that. Here's a replay. Mosso versus Karatza. I think this was the move that Mosso made to get by Karatza up the inside here at a double apex. Really nice, very decisive there. Karatza did come back, a little bit of a biff there, but you have to sort of anticipate the guy's just overtaken you. He's going to have to slow up a little bit later, but there'll be no penalty for that. But just another example of contact that didn't really need to happen.
We've said that a couple of times with Karatza, not trying to do the chap a disservice, but it has happened on more than one occasion. Here's Igor Fraga leading the way then. Lap 12 out of 22 we are on. Look at the tyre life that he has got left. Lucas Benelli comes into the pits from second place. He's decided to chuck on a set of medium tyres. So we've only got 3 drivers now who have not made their pit stop. Make that 2 because Robbie Hegg also comes into the box. Arthur Mosso decides to continue on so he can get an idea of what it's like to run at the sharp end of the field. But of course he's on the medium compound of tyres, so he's going to be running that bit longer because he's got a fair bit of tyre life left.
Yeah, it's good to do that. Try and, I say minimise your soft stint, but you don't really want to do that. You want to maximise your soft stint. So it's just about tyre wear and controlling it. Now, I'm going to keep an eye on lap times. We're not going to get a proper run from Stroza just yet. It just hadn't out that. But Fraga's last lap was a 19.2. For context, the fastest lap of the race by Stroza is a 17.9. They're running sort of in the 18s on the soft tyre before. So Fraga's pace has dropped off dramatically on this soft tyre. He's got to be in this lap, I think, otherwise he's going to start losing time. And when we see Stroza come across the start-finish line, we're going to get an idea if that was the right choice to bit early.
Well, sector times in the first sector, they were only separated by 2,000ths of a second, just to give you an idea. Just to give you an idea. So, but that's obviously interesting because, of course, Stroza's on fresh mediums, Fraga's on worn softs.
We tend to see sector 2 be the big sector for time on fresh tyres. So Fraga, unsurprisingly, into the pits. And let's have a look at sectors. It was a 40.5 for Fraga there, and then a 40.3 for Stroza. So Stroza is going to be quicker, and I think is going to stay ahead here after the stop. Let's have a look.
Well, let's see as he comes into the pit lane then. So softs to mediums for Igor Fraga. Artem Mosso are also going in as well. He'll go onto the soft compound of tyres. Be interested to see what it's going to be like for him in the latter stage of this race. Stroza is going to go back through into the race lead, but of course it was, 4 seconds or so there and thereabouts before the pit stops. Is that lead going to have come down by a significant margin, or will he have been able to increase it? A bit of a slide there through turn 3. He's not going to be helping his charge as he comes on the run down the Descida Largo. Fraga is, of course, still coming out of the pit lane then here, and we wait for the gap to update. 39.2 seconds it was in the pit lane for Igor Fraga, 3.3 seconds, so he's taken about 7/10 of a second out of him.
Yeah, so it was worth it there for Fraga, even with 7/10 of a second. second. That's still 7/10 of a second he hasn't now got to find on circuit. The easiest way to be quick here is just by having good strategy in these events. You haven't got to fight for it on circuit, you just have to pit at the right time. Easiest said than done though, of course, as Fraga now has still 3.4 seconds to make up. Here's a replay, Karatsa versus Robbie Heck. Karatsa looking around the outside there. That's an interesting one. He's looking a long way around the outside, but I'd argue he only got there by going outside of track limits, so that might be one the stewards look at.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you for that one. We did see, of course, just that replay of it, and the stewards would have been looking at that at multiple different angles, but it was a clear cut off the circuit. Managed to use that momentum from being off the track to get past.
When I say track limits, I mean all four wheels outside that solid white line you can see around the outside of the circuit. That is what defines the limit of the circuit. If you go outside that and you gain an advantage, you will be given a penalty because it's not considered part of the racing surface.
Try telling Formula 1 drivers that they love going off of the track limits.
Actually, they're pretty hard on that now. They get slapped regularly.
What by you with a big stick? Artemosso we're right on board with then here, sitting in P7 at the moment. Here, of course, we've got Robbie Heck in front of him, but Robbie's on the medium tyre, so Artemosso's got more grip under braking, mid-corner and on corner exit, and surely this is only going to be a matter of time if he can just hook it all up and close up onto the back of Heck. He'll have the advantage of this slipstream down the Descida de Largo then. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to mount an attack seriously as it stands, but certainly he'll be doing everything within his power to try and get himself past, because of course P4 to P7 go through into that repechage race, the last chance qualifier if you like, but it depends on where you finish in the race as to where you line up on the grid for it. So even though it may only be one place is different, it could be the difference between, you know, starting third or starting fifth in the race. Oh, look at that, ascended up the inside into the right-hander. That caught me off guard. I think it caught Robbie Heck off guard for a brief moment there as well. Artemosso going through decisively into sixth place.
Yeah, big move that was. I think he just decided, oh, I'm going to do this, and that was it, up into sixth. So a good move there from Mosso. Let's see if he can get onto the back of Karatsa in front. So that 14, or coming onto that 15 soon of this race, Angel Inestrosa leads from Igor Fraga. 3.4 seconds is the gap. Benelli is another 4 seconds behind them. The top three right now, those are the drivers that will be going through automatically to that grand final, of course, on Sunday. So that's the place you want to be in. Below that, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th are helped Karatsa, Mosso and Heck, and they'll be going through at this stage anyway to the repechage. And look, as I say that, I love the graphic that comes up as well, just to explain that. And everyone below P7, you're out of here.
It's almost like people in the truck are listening to you, Jimmy.
Very rare.
That 15 out of 22 we're on here in the Americas regional final. Adriano Karatsa, 3.5 seconds his advantage over Igor Fraga. Last time around, those two separated in terms of lap times by just a couple of hundredths of a second. Here is Adriano Karatsa on the back of Dean Helt. Of course, Karatsa on the soft compound of tyre. Stewards not deciding to investigate that overtaking made a couple of laps ago, which seems strange to my eyes, but there we are. They know it better than we do, and now he is all over the American like a bad rash as he tries to see about finding opportunity. Helt knows that goes for that defensive line into the right-hander. He's going to ride it over the curve. Here is Karatsa. He's going to try and use up momentum on the outside. Bit of a smattering of contact between them as they go front tyre to rear tyre. Karatsa's getting impatient here. He might as well just bide his time, sit there in the slipstream, but he's deciding not to do that through the left-hander. And the thing is, he's running a bit wide now into there. That's going to compromise his run on the exit of the corner. I think he'll be okay because of the advantage of that soft tyre compared to the mediums, but he's just getting a little bit impatient, and I don't think he really needs to do that. Over the timing line we go, and he's closing onto the back of Dean Helt here. I think he'll have more grip under braking, but decides not to go for that move. Or does he? That's a late lunge there. The door was always going to close with Dean Helt there because he was very rightfully ahead going into the corner. Karatsa knows that, has to think better of it, and backs out in towards turn number 3.
Yeah, some interesting lunges there, and as you say, didn't really need to drive into the back of Helt either. We know the stewards had a bit of a chat with the guys after yesterday and just said, listen, respect the different circuit, or we will punish you for it. So we'll see if that's anything that they'll be getting into or not. But Helt, for now, it's a bit of a losing battle though for Helt. All Karatsa's really got to do is put himself in a good position onto the start of a straight. He can draft by outside there. The track limits once again, but maybe it's defined by the curve, of course. There might have been a different briefing there for the guys, but Karatsa there still locked onto the back of Helt at the moment. His soft tyres are even though they're more worn than the Helps mediums, they're still giving them more grip. Now we go down the hill once again. See, Karatsa takes a vastly different line down there, takes a shorter distance through the corner, a bit quicker through there, and now he's in a better position to make this move stick. So nice and easy out of there, has the traction. This should be an easy pass now for Karatsa.
Yeah, I think you could be quite right. He's got the advantage of the slipstream. Of course, he's got that turbo singing away, and now he is going to try and challenge Dean Help. Dean Help knows that, goes for the defensive line, but I think it might be in vain because Karatsa will be able to brake later, brake harder, goes for the outside line into the centre S. Dean Help's not giving it up. He's going to try and push Karatsa wide. It's almost a repeat of what we saw with Verstappen versus Hamilton through there, but Karatsa does manage to reign supreme and goes up into 4th place.
Yeah, that move was always the cut. Dean Help defended valiantly there, but Karatsa now up into P4. That's allowed Mosso to get close as well. So this is a bit of a disaster for these two because Mosso, in all this, has actually gained massively on both of them. So now we're going to see if Karatsa has the chance to catch Benelli or not. I don't think he does. It's quite a big gap. He is about a second and a lap faster in clear air, but he's running out of time here. So the gap is 7 seconds. So he had a really, really good last couple of places. And Mosso there, sorry, I just didn't realise, going for a move round the outside of Help. We know he likes a move there. Now he's right on the back of the American driver. Help might lose 2 places this lap. We go into the lunge. So much confidence on the brakes, and the Helps is coming. Really nice move there by Mosso. Proper decisive. Up into P5. That's how you do it. You do it safely. You don't have to hit the guy.
Magic from Mosso, wasn't it? Up into 5th place. What a lunge that was. What a great bit of confident driving, as you said, on the brakes going into that corner. Dean Help there getting a bit squirrely coming out of the left-hander on the run onto the start-finish straight, which won't be helping his charge for the time being. I think 6th is going to be the best result that Help can hope for now at this point, because he's got a 4-second buffer to Robbie Heck behind, who is also on the medium compound of tyres. But we're coming in towards the business end of this race. The gap at the front, 3.2 seconds. It's kind of beginning to stabilise there now. It came down briefly, but I don't think Fraga's going to have enough in his locker. Looking at the lap times between the two, Fraga was actually half a second slower than Inestrosa last time round.
Inestrosa's been bossing this. You know, I know I saw he was my pick, and I'm glad I picked him now. He's showing everyone just the pace he has when he's happy with the car. We know he sort of likes these the sort of road less travels, the cars that aren't used as often. He likes this specialist machinery. So I'm not surprised to see him leading here. Karatsa there, I think now he knows he can take that wide line, taking it every lap. Why wouldn't he? It's definitely quicker to do that. But he's now being harried by Mosso, and only Inestrosa is upsetting a potential Brazilian 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, well, Mosso is a bit of a driver who likes a bit of a battle and a dive, as we have seen. And well, I mean, if he can challenge Adriano Karatsa, what a great way to announce yourself onto the international stage, especially at your home circuit here at Interlagos.
His tyres compared to Karatsa as well, he's just got more tyre life, so he can make more lunges, make more crazy moves. He's now on the draft of Karatsa, down the straight. The overspeed there, 330 k's goes here, so he's squeezed to the wall by Karatsa, but doesn't even blink. Mosso goes around the outside of Karatsa like he's standing still. Mosso is charging. What a move there. Karatsa didn't give it to him easy. He said, oh, I don't care, I'm going around the outside anyway. And off he goes now, in charge. Can he catch Benelli?
Well, I mean, we've got, what, 3 laps left, 6.5 seconds. It's a tall order, but, I mean, given the rate that Mosso's been taking chinks out of the rest of the drivers, never say never.
And that was, I think, the fastest lap of the race. So 17.9 there from Mosso. So, yeah, really impressive here from the Brazilian driver.
Let's have a look at the lap times there between himself and Lucas Benelli. Benelli last time around a 19.2, 17.9 there for Mosso. He needs to be taking a little bit more out of it than that. What, about 2 seconds a lap in order to be able to close out? I don't think it's going to be realistic, unfortunately. Live points rankings you can see on your screen there. If the checker flag fell now, it would be Igor Fraga who would have 12 points, Inestrosa with 10 points, Benelli on 8, Karatsa on 0, and Portilla on 0 as well. Just a reminder, the top 3 drivers go through into the grand final. P4 to P7 into the last chance qualifier, into the repechage. P8 to P10 will be going home.
Only 2.5 seconds at the top of the field now. The gap's come down, Tom.
It has, yeah.
On that last lap, timing-wise, it wasn't that much faster from Igor Fraga, but he just seems to be putting in the gap to Angel Inestrosa. Now, bear in mind, you get within a second and you've got that draft down the main straight. We just saw how powerful that was with Mosso and Karatsa. So if he can get there, this could still be on for Igor, but Inestrosa's going to know that. He's going to know he's getting closer. And maybe he's just saving a little bit. Maybe he's just cruising around. I said, well, none of these guys really cruise. They're always pushing, 100% round here. But this might be a reminder that Igor Fraga is not a slow driver. I need to hurry up a bit if you're Angel Inestrosa.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on the sector times between those two drivers. I think it might have actually been a mistake from Inestrosa because he looked pretty confident there in that first sector. There doesn't seem to be any significant issues with the car, but the thing is, you make one of those mistakes, okay, fair enough, the gap comes down by a second. You make another one of those mistakes, then you've got a driver in your slipstream, and well, that is a very different kettle of fish. And you know that if Igor Fraga, you dangle the carrot in front of him, he is going to go at it like a rabid rabbit.
We're also having a fight here for the large Repechage spot. Marza, who spun earlier on in the race, is now only a second behind Robbie Heck. There is a chance that even after being, I think, 10 seconds behind, that he might have, the Argentinian driver might have pulled it back, and actually, he might actually pull through and go through to the Repechage, but he's got to get by Heck. He's only got about a lap and a bit left to do it.
Hugely impressive stuff then from Martin Marza, the Argentinian. Can he get himself into the Repechage and deny Heck that opportunity? Of course, he's on the quicker combat of tyres, he's on the softs, he's got a fair amount of tyre life left, considering we've only got 2 laps now remaining. So let's see whether Martin Marza can put the pressure onto Robbie Heck, whether he can get past the American driver. As we look here at Lucas Pinelli, a pensive face. He always sits there with his shoulders haunched down, looking like he is trying to do 11 plus maths test. Maybe that's just me because I'm terrible at maths, but either way, he's looks like he's sat some kind of exam whilst he's driving, and he is sat there in 3rd place, just cruising as it stands for now. But it's the battle for 7th place that we need to keep a real eye on between Robbie Heck and Martin Marza. The gap is now down to under a second as we're on this penultimate lap. We don't need to look at Lucas Pinelli on a Sunday cruise. We need to keep an eye out and see what is happening for Martin Marza a bit further down the order.
Car's very pretty, I agree, but yeah, I mean, at the moment, Martin's only 8/10 of a second behind Robbie Heck. This is a big move. This is for the last place here. That's you've nearly got it. That's Pinel. we want Marza. But Pinel there, the Canadian driver, unfortunately, a bad race for him so far, so he's not going to be going any further at this rate. But Marza, just ahead, might be able to overhaul Robbie Heck. At the front of the field, the gap is down to 1.5 seconds between Angel Inestrosa and Igor Fraga. So Fraga has gained on Inestrosa. Is he going to be close enough for a move? Now here is Marza. We finally got a camera on him. He's 6/10 behind Robbie Heck, and now in the draft, in the slipstream, will he go for a move here down towards T1? He's a bit too far back, I think, but sitting in the draft, has the overspeed. This is everything now for Marza. If he doesn't get by Robbie Heck, he is out of the competition.
Needs to set this up quite nicely out of turn 3 on the run down the Decided Largo. Gets a good exit through turn 2, through turn 3. No oversteer through there. Use that momentum that he's got. Great attraction out of the corner and use the advantage of the slipstream. But again, I think he's just going to be a bit too little, too late. He's going to get quite inventive here then, is Martin Marza on this last lap. The last opportunity to get into the Repechage, the last chance qualifier race is coming up, and it's going to be either Robbie Heck or Martin Marza. One of these two drivers are going to progress forward, and we're about to find out which of them it will be.
It's very, very tense if you're Martin Marza. Heck there, you see, really struggling with those medium tyres. Marza does have the tyre advantage. Meanwhile, in front of the field, Inestrosa is just about going to hold off Fraga.
What a great drive it has been from Angel Inestrosa. It's a lights the flag victory for the Chilean driver. He wins the Americas Regional Final to become the champion here at Monaco. Igor Fraga comes home second. Lucas Pinelli across the timing line in 3rd place, the last of the qualifiers to make it through into the grand final. Motto, Carrazza, Helt will have to go into the Repechage, but Marza does get the better of Robbie Heck on the final lap, and he will come home P7 as the last of the drivers to go through into that Repechage race.
I'm not sure about that. There's been a mistake from Heck or contact. I'm not sure. It's a lot further back than he should be there, so we'll wait until to give you the proper results there. But one thing for sure is Angel Inestrosa drove the race of his life there, putting him through to the grand final, and of course making him the regional champion of the Americas region from Igor Fraga, from Pinelli in 3rd. Those 3 go through to the final on Sunday. Mosso, Carrazza, Hell and Marza provisionally go through to the Repechage.
Well, there we are. Let's see what happens and find out exactly what went on that last lap. So this is the race start. Angel Inestrosa started on pole position. Fabian Portier got right up the gearbox of Lucas Pinelli. A bit of a smattering of contact. Carrazza got into the side of Fraga on the first lap, as well as it all kicked off in the midfield of the first couple of corners. Fabian Portier then got passed by Lucas Pinelli after being handed a penalty for that contact on the first lap, which would then cost the Chilean driver over not one, but 2 positions. Here is Igor Fraga going up the inside of his countryman into turn number 4. Got the move done, bit of a contact between the two, but all spare in love and war. And this was a great drive from Artem Mosso as well, especially in the middle stages of the race. Got past Karatsa very decisively as we saw the pit stop starting to take place.
Yeah, it turns out it seems that Igor Fraga made his tyres just last a bit longer on the softs at the start. Fraga will pit a lap later, gaining some time back on Angel Inestrosa. You can see Inestrosa pushing very hard there on Igor Fraga's outlaps. Just about come out ahead, about 3.5 seconds ahead of the Brazilian driver. Meanwhile, the Brazilian driver, Mosso, was making big moves. Robbie Heck there up the inside. Lunge caught me and Tom off guard when that happened. But a great move, and for what was a really impressive race for Mosso.
It was. Look at this with Karatsa then and Dean Held. Karatsa on the soft compound of tyre. I mean, he really tried to find his way through there, and you can see a shake of the head. I think that was probably in recognition of his own driving. I hope it was, because he was like biting off a little bit more than he could chew at that point. Again, it was robust when he got past Dean Held. I mean, it was always going to be, but look at this from Artem Mosso up the inside. What a decisive move. So much confidence he had on the brakes of that McLaren MP44. You know, you wish that the race could have been a few laps longer so he could have possibly challenged for that final podium position. He got the better of Karatsa with a stunning move around the outside into the first corner. Angel Inestrosa, though, what a race it was. It was 0.8 of a second at the checkered flag. The gap did come down between himself and Igor Fraga, but it wasn't enough to deny him victory. It's Inestrosa, Fraga and Benelli who progress forwards into the grand final. Mosso, Karatsa, Helt and Martin Marta provisionally will make it through into the repechage. Robbie Heck, Pinel and Fabian Portilla sadly will go no further in the Nations Cup here this weekend. Let's head down to Julia, though, who is with our race winner and the America's regional final champion, Angel Inestrosa.
Well, first of all, congratulations. That was amazing. But Fraga was really quite close, like right towards the final bit of that lap. Could you feel that Fraga pressure, like him breathing down your neck?
Yeah, obviously, from a driver like Fraga, you always feel the pressure. But yeah, I was not feeling comfortable at all with the medium tires compared from what I practiced at home. So yeah, I was making some mistakes there because you know that this car has a lot of turbo lag. So yeah, I was drifting a little bit through the corners. But at the end, I managed to stay ahead and take the win. So obviously, I'm happy.
I mean, you were saying you weren't, all that comfortable, but you stayed ahead and you didn't make a mistake to cost it. So you just stayed calm and collected?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, taking a win like this in a live event in Nations Cup. Actually, this is my first live event win in Nations Cup. So this is pretty good for me. It gives me motivation.
And Jimmy's got your back. We thought it was gonna curse you, but apparently no. Just the power of Jimmy Broadbent tapping on the back is helpful. Did you know this?
Yeah, absolutely. I can feel the energy from him, so yeah, thanks, man.
He does give off a lot of energy. That is very true. So, well, massive congratulations. Let's give a big round of applause for our regional America's champion, Angel Inestrosa. Over back to Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, he certainly does give off a lot of energy, Jimmy Broadbent. Not necessarily the right energy, but there we go. Anyway, huge congratulations to Angel Inestrosa. What a decisive race that was from him. I mean, if he continues that form coming into the grand finals on Sunday...
Yeah, I mean, genuinely impressed. Like you said, I think he struggled a little bit on that medium compound tyre, which is why we saw Fraga split up to the back of him. But he had it in the bag, didn't he? He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, the Jimmy Broadbent curse, thankfully, did not come and bite him in the backside. Let's have a look, shall we, at some highlights from all 3 of the regional finals and how we've gotten to this point then. Of course, we kicked things off with the Asia-Oceania region. It was a brilliant race at Watkins Glen in the Ferrari 330 P4. It was Takuma Miyazono who led from the front in the early stages. Problems, though, for Guy Barber here, and a right tank slapper sent it into the barrier. The Australian driver very audibly frustrated following that, and that, unfortunately, was the end of his weekend, to all intents and purposes. Tomoaki Yamanaka got the better of Saya Suzuki. We saw Jonathan Wong making a complete mess of the chicane, losing the rear on the entry. And yeah, well, you don't need to say anything more about that, but there was a great battle in the closing stages of the race. Ryota Kokkoman on the soft compound of tyres, Saya Suzuki on the medium compound of tyres, and it looks as though Kokkoman got the move done, but then made a couple of mistakes. And on the final lap, it was 2 by 2 for as many corners as you could wish for. It wasn't enough to stop Takuma Miyazono taking the win, 1.5 seconds ahead of Tomoaki Yamanaka. Relief there for Ryota Kokubun to get himself up inside the top 3. And then we went over to the EMEA regional final here at Monza in the Lamborghini Vision Gran Turismo cars. Laboutelet led in the early stages, but Gallo had a stonker of a start.
Yeah, awesome start from Gallo, goes from third to first just like that, but Sealand, the lone Brit in the competition, unfortunately, a little bit of contact there with Kylian Drumont, which put an end to his race. Coque Lopez went for probably the best mistake overtake I've ever seen in my life. Just a little bit quick on the way down to the break. Sometimes he missed a gear there. Managed not to hit Gallo, although Gallo unfortunately didn't manage to repair that favour properly, hitting Lopez there at the second chicane. Now, Kylian Drumont and Baptiste Beauvoir, they were together for a while, and Baptiste Beauvoir had this massive moment. Big slide to the inside there, picked up an auto track cut penalty as well. I thought that was it for Baptiste Beauvoir. It went down to 6th place, but
I got a penalty for that.
I mean, we said the same thing up here in the booth, to be honest, but it proved actually to light a fire underneath him, because he went from 5th to 4th to 3rd within a corner and a half, and would take that position and finish in P3.
It was an amazing race, wasn't it, from Baptiste Beauvoir. It all kicked off on the last lap as well for 4th place. You see Kylian Drumont going wide out of the De La Roggia. Put him out of contention as Laboutelet also picks up a half-second penalty for track limits, but Coque Lopez coming across the line to become the EMEA regional final champion there. What a great drive from the young Spaniard back on top. Baptiste Beauvoir, relief from him, and we just saw the Americas regional final in the McLaren MP4 at Interlagos. It all kicked off on the first lap. Drivers getting pushed out wide, including Igor Fraga and Adriano Carazza. You saw Fabian Portilla there getting into the back of Lucas Benelli in the opening stages of the race. Portilla then was handed a penalty and got passed by Benelli to add insult to injury.
Yeah, Fraga there taking the gamer line, actually won. It worked out okay for him in the end, but yeah, with Fraga then getting by Benelli. Benelli just sort of fell away as the race went on there. Didn't quite have the pace to mix it for top 2. It was Mosso, I think, my driver of the race there, actually. The Brazilian driver we don't really talk that much about. Made some very quick, some very decisive moves and dragged his way up through the field. We saw a bit of a divergence in strategy as Angelo Nestroza opted to pit a little bit earlier than Igor Fraga did. Here's another absolute belter from Mosso up the inside there. Awesome move. That was aggressive you can be about getting away with it. Speaking of aggression, we saw Carazza and Help come together here. A little bit of side-by-side contact. Help would keep the place, but then a lap later, Carazza would go around the outside and make the move stick finally with a little bit of contact as well through there. Yeah, a bit of a messy race there from Carazza.
Driver of the race though was this guy, Artur Mosso. What an incredible drive he had in the latter stages on the soft competent tyres. Just lunge after lunge, send after send. So much confidence he had, and all relatively clean, fair moves. He got past Adriano Carazza with an inspired overtake around the outside. Angelo Nestroza came over the line to take the win. What a brilliant drive from the Chilean. I think he'll be absolutely thrilled with that. Just quickly, Jimmy, before we go over to look at the point standings with Julia, what are your highlights from the 3 races? What would you pick out if you had to pick one moment?
Right, okay, obviously first race, that awesome battle there with Kokubun and Suzuki, that was amazing. Side by side in those cars is unreal. Very difficult to do. For the second race, it's got to be Lopez's just mistake overtake. We're like, oh no! And then somehow took the lead. I think, again, Gallo did really well to sort of see that coming and avoid contact there. And of course, in that last race, just every move from Mosso. That man was amazing. We get to see him race again in a minute, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it really is going to be brilliant. Let's head over then to Julia and have a look at the point standings after our 3 finals.
Now, whilst obviously these races are super important at crowning our regional champions, it does all come down to the points. This is what they're after, because that is the way that they're going to become the Nations Cup champion. So we thought we'd just give a little recap of the points as they are before we go into the repechage. So this is not all the points just yet. So as you can see, Fraga is in the lead there with 12 points in total, and then Angelo Nestroza is 10 behind. Ryota Kokubun, Valerio Gallo, like all still to play for, because actually in the grand final there are an awful lot of points up for grabs, so it can totally change. But when we go into the repechage, there's going to be a maximum of 3 points that could be added to that, which could make the difference. You don't know. Everything can turn on its head in the grand final, which will be coming to you on Sunday. So yes, so much still more to go, but we do want to hear a little from you guys actually about who you believe the Michelin driver of the day will be, because actually as we talk through the highlights there have been some pretty stellar standout drivers of today already. But now, of course, is time for the spiciest of all races, which is the repechage. Over to you, Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Julian. Turn your mic on, mate.
Yeah, sorry, I was busy. I was down there. I was just, honestly.
Amateur hour here, but yeah, Repechage coming up. And you've already seen the car for this from the qualifying session early on. It's going to be a mad race. I'm really looking forward to this. So here is our Repechage lineup. Of course, Suzuki taking the pole, finishing first in the first race. Then Mosso, Serrano, Kawakami there, Karatsa, Labutale, McEwen, Helt, Drumont, Jones, Marza and Moisov. I think this is going to be one of these races that we talk about for quite some time yet. And this is the reason why the car we're using, if you're a Gran Turismo fan, you will know this car, the Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak Special, all the way back from Gran Turismo 2. It's back here again. Nearly 1,000 brake horsepower, all-wheel drive, twin-engine madness, this thing. And yeah, to say this thing is twitchy was a little bit of an understatement.
Absolutely, and of course, it's not an easy track for them to contend with either. This is where all the drivers did their general qualifying, the Willow Springs International Raceway, the big Willow layout of the circuit, and crucially, no strategy really to worry about in this one. Racing soft tyres, it's basically a sprint from start to finish. A rolling start just to make things a little bit less sketchy going down towards the first couple of corners, but this is going to be very, very spicy indeed. It's a fast old track, Big Willow, as well.
Yeah, I've been told that T89 is very tricky in this car. If you do get a little bit of oversteer through there, you can find yourself very quickly facing the other direction or approaching that barrier quicker than you really know what to do with.
See, my favourite thing about the Escudo was trying to get it to wheelie in Gran Turismo, to be honest with you.
I would love to see that group of them to wheelie down the main straight. That'd be amazing.
Proper Mark Webber when he got it like that in, I think it was China a few years ago. Anyway, Kylian Drumont is lining up on the grid, as you can see there. And Kylian won the World Series Showdown, his first ever appearance back in a GT World Series event. Finished first in the Manufacturers' Cup with Subaru, Danny Solis, and of course Takuma Miyazono, also a part of that team. And also won the Nations Cup the day after as well.
It feels weird to then see it in the Repechage, really, doesn't it? I mean, this guy, very, very quick. I expect to see him come through the field. He's going to have to be aggressive in this one. He wants to go through. Only the top three will go through to the grand final, of course, on Sunday. So everything to play for here in the Repechage.
So the grid is formed then. We're ready to go for the Repechage race. Just a reminder, only the top three drivers will progress forward to the grand final. There are 10 of them on the grid, and here is the order in which they line up. It is Saya Suzuki who starts from pole position. Alongside him is Arthur Mosso. Great sense we saw from the Brazilian last time out. Jose Serrano heads the second row of the grid with Kanata Kawakami for company alongside. Then it is Adriano Karatsa starting P5 on the grid with Thomas Labutale. Unlucky he was in his regional final. Can he make forward progress? Matt McEwen heads the third row, followed by Dean Helt, the American driver on home soil here at Big Willow. Kylian Drumont, the winner from the World Series Showdown. He needs a good race here with Emily Jones for company alongside him. Then it is Marza in P11, the Argentinian, I should say, rather, with Nikita Moisov completing the 12-driver strong field. So 12 drivers, 3 places up for grabs in the grand final. Let's see what is going to happen when the checkered flag falls here, Jimmy.
Looking forward to this one, Tom. There's a bit of nervous anticipation there for our competitors. Of course, all the pressure is on them now. Top 3 or bust, or that's the end of the competition. So people with big things to lose. I think that the Labutale has a chance. I think that Drumont has a chance. Mosso's got a chance. Serrano's got a chance. Suzuki's got a chance. We won't know who's going through until the second flag falls in 18 laps time.
So then, just a reminder, you can see at the bottom of your screen 3 positions up for grabs then. You can see the Nations Cup Grand Finals will take place here in Monaco on Sunday evening at 5 p.m. local time. And we're going to find out which of those 3 drivers it will be. A rolling start for the field here in the Suzuki V6 Escudo Pikes Peak Special Machine. And it is Saya Suzuki who heads the field. But is he going to be leading when the checkered flag falls? We're about to find out. The Repechage race here for the Nations Cup in Monaco for the GT World Series World Finals is underway, and it is Suzuki who leads the field down towards the first corner, followed by Arthur Mosso. Look at Kawakami already making good ground on the back of Jose Serrano as they come through into the first corner. Karatsa also right up the gearbox of Kawakami too. So through into the right-hander we go. We're going to begin to climb up the crest of the hill. We're going to go into a very tight left-hander very shortly, and this is where we could see a couple of lunges beginning to take place, but the driver's just a bit too far away as it stands. It's going to get a bit messy there with Karatsa on the inside, kicking up a a bit of dust as he closes up onto the back of Kanata Kawakami and tries to make the move stick there. There's a bit of contact, I think, between the two. Kawakami's coming under real pressure here from him, and Serrano's up through into third there as well.
And Labuse did a good job of actually using that contact to sneak on by. Kawakami's got a sitting duck at the moment. Labuse looking to the inside for P4, and long right-hander coming up. Kawakami's back closing the door. Labuse still on the inside, though, has to back out of it at this point. The slipstream through here is quite difficult. It's quite a bit of dirty air in these cars. You can see why that massive rear spoiler attached to the back of his car. But Labuse keeps the place up into P5. Carrazza down to P6 at the moment. And at the moment, Suzuki, Mosso and Serrano are in the places they want to be. They've got about a second and a half gap from Kawakami. Labuse there, a bit of a mistake on the way and touches the grass. You're just seeing just how tricky this car is at speed.
Look at that, half-second penalty for Labuse there as well. It's an automatic one awarded in-game before you start shouting at the stewards in the comments. So Labuse there, half-second penalty for him. But you can see the amount of lock that these drivers are having to put into the car to get it just a turn. It's understeering like a cross-channel ferry coming through in these slower corners, especially the medium-speed ones as well. It's all a sort of form of medium-speed corners that comprises this big Willow circuit, and you can see there just how hard it is to get these cars turned, and also, of course, because of the nature of the circuit, how hard it is to break away a gap.
Yeah, Kawakami's sort of got to get on with it at the moment. He's falling back a little bit and causing this massive train behind him. There's a 1.4-second gap to the top three. Those are the places, of course, that everyone's coveting in this particular race. Mars are getting a warning there for a little bit of contact. Labuse's about to serve a 0.5-second penalty. The cars are so close right now, so it's really going to affect his race. He's now slow going down the main straight. Carrazza back up into P5, and now he's going to have a go at trying to get by Kawakami now. We know if anyone's going to have a go, it is going to be Carrazza. He's a very aggressive driver, very quick driver as well. We've got on board now with Jose Serrano. He's in P2. Mosso, though, is under attack. He's just been passed by Serrano.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just to say, Mosso got overtaken there by Serrano coming through to the first couple of corners, and I wonder if he's going to try and repay the favour on the Spaniard over the remainder of this lap. You can see there, Sai Suzuki, it's been music to his ears because he's been able to pull out a 1.5-second gap or so to those two drivers whilst they have been squabbling amongst one another. And I have to say, if anything else, we always talk about when you fight amongst one another, the gap can increase. If anything, it seems to be magnified here at this circuit.
Yeah, it is. It's insane around here. This car's pretty one line from the corner. You see, we're carrying 310 kilometres an hour into this double right-hander on board with Mosso here. The downforce does take over after a while, but if you do have a moment, you have no chance to react. You're going so quick. And Kawakami now is actually reeling in Mosso very quickly, down to 0.8 of a second now, that gap between third and fourth.
So down the start-finish straight we go, lap 4 of 18. We are already on lap times of about 1 minute or so. So it's not going to be a particularly long race, this one, but it is going to be full of drama. I am sure you can see Kylian Drumont. He's made good forward progress, started 9th on the grid. He's already up into P6, now over the back of Adriano Carrazza, who seems to be struggling in the Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak. But Kylian Drumont, despite having that momentum, hasn't got an opportunity to find his way through. And the thing is, he needs to get himself up inside the top 3 and try and do that whilst the field is as bunched up as it is in the opening stages of this race. I imagine it's probably going to stay like that for the majority of this one, just given the nature of this circuit and the nature of these cars. But the thing is, as Jimmy said, it's so much one at a time through all of these corners that you can get close, but it doesn't mean you can get past.
Yeah, it's a very tricky circuit to pass around here at Big Willow. Now we're seeing that Kawakami again is now pulling up to the back of Mosso. The gap now 0.3 of a second. Mosso just not quite got the pace in these cars compared to the 4.4 we saw him in the last race. So let's see if he can hold off. As we've said a few times, passing here is difficult, but it has been done. Serrano has got by. Drumont's up 3 places at the moment as well. So Drumont's in a bit of a charge. Can he continue this? Of course, a reminder, top 3 go through to the grand final on Sunday. The rest, their competition is over.
Look at this. Dean Helt was getting really out of shape in towards that first corner. Got a great slide on in that Suzuki and came under pressure from Thomas Labuse. Those two were side by side down the start finish straight there, side by side in the middle part of this corner here as well. So through into the right hander we go. Labute's on the outside. There's contact there as well. I think Marta getting through on Matt McEwen. Nikita Moisov picks up a warning for a bit of contact in P11, but it's really getting feisty here as these drivers try and squabble amongst one another and try and get the better of the other. But the thing is, all the while they're doing that, it's just dropping them off the back of the likes of Kylian Drumont, etc., up the road in P6.
Carrazza getting a little bit impatient behind Kawakami there. Tries a different line into the last corner. I think trying to get a slingshot out there. Mosso goes wide, really wide there. And Kawakami's now going to have the run. There goes Kawakami around the outside. Can you make it stick though? The next corner's left hand is already by Carrazza's tyre as well. He sent it around the outside. He's not waiting. He can smell that qualification place in front of him. He's going to chase it with all he's got.
What a great move there from Adriano Carrazza. Got that one done on the brakes on the outside. I suppose that does show that you don't have to just go and send it up the inside. You can use the camber, use the outside of this Big Willow circuit. That was a great, decisive move there from Adriano Carrazza. The thing is, all the while they've been squabbling, look at what's happened up the front. Suzuki and Serrano, only 0.3 of a second separating them, but they're 2.1 seconds clear of that battle for third place. And of course, that last spot for the grand final.
There's no working together here. It's every man for himself. Suzuki, though, running a good pace. Serrano's just sitting there with him, of course. It will benefit him to try and get by here. He'll put him in a better place in terms of qualifying for that final, but needs to try and get by quickly if he's going to do that. But you don't want to take that risk. If you do take a risk in this contact, you fall outside of the top three, you're out. So it's really risk versus reward at this stage.
So down the start-finish straight we go. Lap 7 out of 18 we are on. Here is Kanata Kawakami. Bit of a wobble there into that first corner. That's going to leave him under attack here, possibly from Adriano Carrazza. You know, if he gets half an opportunity, you give him an inch, he'll take a mile, and he's really close and looking really aggressive on the back here of Kanata Kawakami. We're going to come up and jink it into the left-hander. Kawakami knows that. Is he going to try and go over the defensive line? I don't think he is, but Carrazza's not quite close enough to launch a move, or is he? There's a contact in there. Kawakami gets pushed wide by Carrazza. Carrazza, though, is on the outside line through into the right-hander. Side by side they run. Kawakami does manage to reign supreme. Mosso's there ready to try and pick up the pieces if he can get himself involved. But once again, another bit of messy driving from Adriano Carrazza.
Now, you know what? I think it's all fair in this race. You've got to go for that, you know, the if gap car mentality. You've got to just make a gap, because you're not going to, there's no way Kawakami's going to let you through. And if anyone's going to do that, if anyone has that aggression needed to make a move round here in these cars, there is Carrazza. He's had one go. I can tell you that will not be a last. Coming into the pit lane is Kawakami there, going on to another set of the soft tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see what this is going to be like for Kanata Kawakami. Just looking at the tyres, we weren't expecting pit stops to be a particular factor in this race, but it turns out we've been proven wrong, and he comes into the pits then. So the tyre wear clearly a lot more excessive than we were expecting it to be, and that's probably a good point to mention, because of course it's such a fast and flowing circuit, this Big Willow Springs circuit, and of course lots of medium corners where you're putting lots of lateral load on the outside of the tyres, so clearly they're getting a lot more worn than we were anticipating.
This might be a masterstroke from Kawakami, though. He's only 1 second behind Emily Jones, who might get in the way of his plan here, so we do expect to see others come into the pit lane. You can use whatever tyre you like in this race. Of course, the soft tyre is the quickest tyre there, and we are seeing some the tyre usage falling across the board. Moisov as well having a really bad time on his front tyres at the moment, so let's see if they follow suit. Does Suzuki pit? He does. Last minute there, I think they're just sort of caught Serrano unaware. You see the avatar looking to the left going, oh dear, he's pitted, I should have done that. Let's see though if that's the right decision. Can Serrano use this time to put out a bit of a gap in front? Well, we like to call it overcut.
Well, this is going to be really interesting there, because it's all going to come down, I think, to strategy as to who is going to emerge where. Jose Serrano continues on. He's got a fair amount of tyre left on his rear tyres. His front tyres are going to be crying for mercy, though. One of them is down to 27%. Lemoutelet is getting a warning there for colliding with another car. So you can see the majority of the field now have made their pit stops. Only 6 now remain, and I think it's going to be a case of one goes and the rest will follow. Jose Serrano there with now a 2.5 second advantage over Adriano Carrazza and Arthur Mosso, those two Brazilian drivers. Let's see whether Serrano will blink this time around and decide to go into the pit lane. I don't think he's going to have much choice, really, because given the time loss he will be suffering with those soft tyres, and given how worn they are now beginning to get, especially with the understeer that these cars have and that the drivers are contending with, he's going to have to come in, and indeed he does. So Jose Serrano into the pits at the end of lap 9.
Let's watch Kawakami then. Let's see where he is compared to Serrano and compared to Carrazza, compared to Suzuki as he comes around now. Suzuki has come out ahead, I think, of Kawakami already. Out of the pit lane comes Serrano. There goes Suzuki. Will anyone else get by as well? No. Kawakami nearly gets into the back of them there, so it's business as usual then in the top 3. Suzuki, Serrano, Kawakami, that order remains unchanged. Carrazza actually has fallen away a little bit.
Yeah, this is not working out there for Carrazza, because he wants to be within that sort of slipstreaming range and close enough to try and mount an attack, given how the circuit has proven to be. It's a challenging time here for the Brazilian.
No, it has worked out for Marza. He's up now to P5. He's up 6 from his qualification spot there, so he still has a chance, does the Argentinian driver. We saw him finish strong, very strong, in the American final, so this might be one to watch here.
In the same token, it's not worked out at all for Artem Mosso. He's gone from challenging up the sharper end of the field, now down into P10. He started, let's not forget, in second on the grid, now down outside the top 10. There he is, the Brazilian driver. And, well, he had a brilliant regional final, as we saw earlier on. He'd have been hoping that that race was a couple of laps longer so he could have challenged for that podium. Unfortunately, it's all coming unravelled for him here in this repechage. We look here at Matt McEwen and Thomas Leboutelet in 8th and 9th place, 9th and 8th place, I should say, respectively, rather. And you can see them coming through that left-hander of turn 1. Matt McEwen kind of in position to try and mount an attack. I mean, it's all going to be somewhat in vain because it won't count for a spot in the grand final, but you never know what's going to happen. The thing is, the field is so closely knit together, not only in terms of the gaps, but also in terms of the pace, that it just takes one mistake. And if we look back to the Toyota GR GT Cup, I mean, we had chaos yesterday when it all kicked off very quickly, and that could just be the catalyst that these drivers need to make that forward progress.
So if you've just joined us, first of all, where have you been? We've had an awesome day of racing, but you've joined for what is probably the most intense race here. It is the Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak at Big Willow here for the repechage, the last chance saloon to go through to the grand final in the Nations Cup. Top 3 drivers go through to the final currently. That is Suzuki, Serrano and Kawakami. We're on board with Kawakami now. He's actually caught Jose Serrano for 2nd place. Is it worth him fighting for that place, or just staying in a place where he's going to get automatic qualification? Bear in mind, Carrazza is behind. He was very, very quick early on. The challenge is somewhat faltered now, and now Marza behind is pulling right onto the back of Carrazza. Only a 2 tenths now separates the Brazilian and the Argentinian. Now, if Marza, with this pace, can get by Carrazza, he could challenge this top 3.
Well, we know that getting close is one thing, getting past is quite another. Here is Kanata Kawakami as we ride on board with him. Of course, these drivers who do progress forward to the grand final will have another opportunity for qualifying. It was all kicking off in the middle part of the circuit coming through there as we look here at Kanata Kawakami once again battling with Jose Serrano. I think that might have been Marta who was really close onto the back of Carrazza going through that sort of middle sector of the circuit. And you can see there as we ride on board here with Kanata Kawakami just how easy it is to lose a fair bit of time. Huge wings on these Pikes Peaks cars because, of course, well, I mean, if you've never seen the Pikes Peak, go and watch any kind of lap because it is such an impressive statement to watch, and it's just one of the most incredible forms of motorsport. This is one of the most recognisable and iconic cars.
I would love to see this fight for P4 and P5. Marta is very close to the back of Carrazza, but doesn't seem to be able to make any sort of headway there. Of course, still on board here with Kawakami in his Escudo. So the big monster sticker on the left there, Monster Tajima, of course, the original driver of this car, responsible for its existence and sending it to the top of Pikes Peak in what was at the time record-breaking time. So still on board with Kawakami there, just about 2nd behind Serrano. That challenge has faltered ever so slightly. Carrazza behind 1.6 seconds, and you can just see in the background that Marza, there you go, there we are. So Marza now is behind Carrazza, but the pace has quickened a little bit from the Brazilian. So Marza really has to make a move very, very soon. At the moment, the top 3 look fairly safe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not... the thing is, the gap between Carrazza and Kawakami, I think that might be a bit insurmountable at the moment. 1.6 seconds is quite the advantage that Kawakami holds there in 3rd place. And though never say never, I wonder whether he's going to run out of time because we've only got 4 laps now remaining and the laps are only a minute long.
No, the gap has come down from 1.9 to 1.5, so he's going in the right direction. You can see that last 3 laps he has been quicker, but only by about a tenth and a bit every time. So, as you say, Tom, he needs to really get a wiggle on. He needs to be on Kawakami very soon. Once he's in the draft range, he'll just accelerate that. So really, if he can just take another couple of attempts out, he's really pushing through this middle sector. You can see that car dancing around there, trying to make use of the nearly 1,000 brake horsepower produced by this car's engine. As we now come down towards the last part of the circuit, reminder, top 3 go through, everybody out, and everybody else is eliminated. Can Carrazza catch Kawakami? Stay tuned and find out.
Well then, this is going to get really exciting in the last few laps of this race. You can see the live points rankings on the right-hand side of your screen. It would be delight for Jose Serrano, who's got 7 points. There will be Kylian Drumont, who takes over with 6 points. Of course, he won't be progressing any further forwards here into that last chance qualifier, though. Sorry, into the grand final, I should say.
Karatsa there was 8 tenths faster than Kawakami on the last lap.
He is getting a wiggle on now, isn't he?
He is really moving, and that's why Mars has fallen to the back. Karatsa's just gone, right, I'm off. And now within a second, Dean Helt's been giving a 1-second penalty, but it's kind of inconsequential at this point. There is still a fight going on for 6th and 7th between the two French drivers, but to be honest, again, this doesn't matter at this point. It's all about the top 3 drivers, and Karatsa is still putting it in time on Kawakami. It's a second now. I've seen it dip under a second. As soon as he gets into slipstream range, he's going to accelerate onto the back of Kawakami, and we know what Karatsa's like. He will just go for the move. If there's a move on, he'll go for the lunge. No questions asked.
Do you know what it is, though? Is Kawakami's tyres are running out. Just looking at his front tyres, he's got 36%, whereas Karatsa's got 56%. So it's a sizable difference between those two. It's actually a little bit different than that, as you can see on your screen. But anyway, Karatsa has got more rear tyre, a bit more front tyre there as well. It may only be 5 or 6%, but that could be the difference between having enough tyre left to battle for that 3rd place at the end of this race. And look at the gap now, down visibly under half a second for the first time. Karatsa's coming, and he is coming in very hot and very hard for these last couple of laps.
Just be patient here, Karatsa. You've got a little bit of time to play. We know he likes to go for uber lunge straight away, and that could be a penalty. The stewards are watching him like a hawk. But look how close he is now to the back of Kanata Kawakami. A reminder, this is for the last place here in the grand final of the Nations Cup on Sunday. P4 you go home, P3 you go through, and Karatsa is trying his hardest. Shaking the head there. He's got a little bit of a mistake, but he's in the toe. Look at him pull onto the back of Kawakami here. The speed difference is massive once you're in a slipstream here. That massive rear wing creates so much dirty air behind it, but also punches a massive hole in front of it. The gap now 3 tenths per second, and Kawakami is wide there. It's going to be Karatsa's chance. I don't think he's quite close enough. He might look for it. He's going to go to the inside.
So get the
outside. He goes for a long way around. No, he can't quite make it work yet.
Kawakami there having a bit of a moment on the exit of the corner as well, and this is going to put him under pressure coming through into the right-hander. Is he going to run a little bit wide? Is that the opportunity that Karatsa's looking for? There's contact between the two as Karatsa pushes his way through up the inside and into 3rd place. The Portuguese commentators here are going absolutely potty, and keep an eye out as well for Martin Marza, because he's now right on the back of the Japanese driver and he's ready to try and join the party. Up the inside he goes through into 4th place. So Martin Marza from 11th on the grid is now up challenging for the podiums and could be trying to challenge Karatsa before the end of this one.
Well, there was contact between Karatsa and Kawakami on the way through, so that could be a penalty, and if so, Marza's in the right place there. We'll see if they investigate that. Until meanwhile, in front of the field, the race isn't over for the win here. Suzuki and Serrano. Serrano looks up the inside there in the last corner. Bit of a scary place to do it in these cars, but still 1 lap left to go. 3 tenths between the two drivers. Will Serrano go for a last lap lunge for glory in the Repechage? 1 lap to go here at Big Willow.
So Suzuki leads the way, but it's Serrano, the man who is pushing. He's got a little bit more tyre left underneath him, and that might be the opportunity that he's looking for. Investigation for Kawakami versus Karatsa. This is going to go down to a post-race situation then for him. Let's see what's going to happen, unless the stewards can make their mind up pretty quickly. On board we ride though with Serrano. We're going to jink it into the left-hander. Again, he's close, but not close enough to mount that attack for the time being. Through into the right-hander we go. Suzuki struggling to get that car in. No further action there for Kawakami versus Karatsa. There's only a handful of corners now remaining for Serrano to claim the win in the Repechage race here, and it is Saya Suzuki who leads the way. 2 corners then from home as we come in to it now, and Serrano, I think he's just going to be a bit too little too late unless he can get a great run into that final corner. Suzuki leading the way, but Serrano with great momentum. Can he manage to make a move stick? No, he's not quite close enough. He needs to compromise and think about the exit of the corner, but it's a bit too little too late there. Saya Suzuki wins the Repechage here in the Nations Cup ahead of Jose Serrano, and Adriano Karatsa makes it through into the grand final with that brilliant penultimate lap overtake ahead of Martin Marza, who's best of the rest. Kawakami, Labusale, McEwen et al. Sadly do not make it any further, but what a great drive from that man, Adriano Karatsa. An aggressive move up the inside and through into the grand final for the Nations Cup. Huge congratulations to Saya Suzuki as well, the Japanese driver winning that Repechage from Jose Serrano.
Yeah, great race there from Suzuki. Withstood a lot of pressure from Serrano at the end, of course. You know what, big credit to Karatsa, fought his way through the field there, got by, and although Marta behind, I've got to say, my driver of the race, he went up 7 positions, the Argentinian driver, just couldn't quite go one more there for P3, but a really, really good race there from Marta. But congratulations to Suzuki, Serrano and Karatsa. They will go through to the final on Sunday in the Nations Cup, and Good work. Good work by the pair of them.
Very impressive stuff indeed. Such difficult car and circuit combinations that we have had here for the Nations Cup regional finals, and it came down to the last lap. Let's have a look, shall we, at the highlights from that race. Seiya Suzuki led the field from Artemoso and Jose Serrano at the start of it. We saw some pretty argy-bargy moves in the early stages, with the field being relatively bunched up. Laboutelet getting himself a penalty from 5th position. Unfortunately, his race never really got going. Artemoso got overtaken by Jose Serrano at the start of lap 3, and unfortunately that was really the undoing of his race, or the beginning of the undoing, I should say, rather, as Kawakami got the better of Adriano Carrazza. Artemoso there running a little bit wide, having a big old moment, the Brazilian driver. Kawakami pulling alongside, getting ahead and into 3rd.
Yeah, you'd have thought these cars would be better off-road, wouldn't you? But they're on tarmac tyres, not too good on the gravel there. Here was Kawakami. He decided to stop early, did Kawakami, to try and go on the tyre. Suzuki also stopped early as well to try and get the undercut. But to be honest, it didn't really work out. These cars were so close over the course of a lap that it didn't matter so much that the one stopped a lap earlier.
Absolutely right. Well, lap 10 out of 18. We are on in the highlights of the race here, and you can see Adriano Carrazza's forward progress in the closing stages. He got right onto the gearbox of Konata Kawakami, and it was a robust overtaking. Sent it through up the inside there into 3rd place. The stewards deemed it as a fair overtake, and he got himself into the podium places, and crucially into the grand final as well. Kawakami just about salt into the wound as well, got overtaken by Martin Marza, but Seiya Suzuki taking the win then, 3/10 from Jose Serrano and Adriano Carrazza. Brilliant stuff from Seiya Suzuki. An incredible win. I think he exhausted himself from that one, you know.
I think so. I always like the sort of the Japanese contingent we have. Whenever one of them wins, they'll just send. But yeah, really good win through there. And of course, through to the final as well. So looking forward to that one. But the final results then for the Repechage race. Officially, Suzuki, Serrano and Carrazza go through to the final on Sunday. Miles there, +7 from his grid position, but unfortunately not enough to get through. Kawakami, Laboutelet, McEwen, Drumont, Emily Jones, Akira Mosso and Held take no further part in this competition.
Nope, well, let's head down to Julia then, who's with our top 3 finishers from that Repechage race.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Tom. So, Seiya, it was a very aggressive race, but you really kept your cool. You kept it together when there was a lot of pressure from behind. How did you manage that?
はい、すごく今回のレースアグレッシブなドライビングが多いレースで、その中でもちゃんとこう落ち着いて走り切った感じでしたけど、後ろのプレッシャーを感じながらどうやって走り抜いたんでしょうか。
まずすごいもうこの大会の中での戦う中でいろんなプレッシャーを感じていたのは本当にもう自分でも抑えきれるかどうかわからない状態での戦いだったんですけども、その中でも相手の選手のリスペクトも忘れずに今回の戦いを走っていきたいという目標で、今回もグランドファイナルに出場することを目標にしていたので、まずは嬉しい気持ちでいっぱいです。
Yeah, you know, this battle, I really felt that pressure. I really didn't know if I could hold them down or not. But, you know, I wanted to make sure that I, kept my respect for the other competitors on the track. And my ultimate objective is really to get into the world final. So, I'm very glad to have been able to do that.
Yeah, well, you've done it. You come first. You did spectacularly well, didn't he? Yes. Round of applause. So good, so good. Jose, how was that one for you?
José, ¿cómo ha sido para ti esta carrera? Pues ha sido un poco difícil para mí porque esta combinación me es muy complicada, pero he intentado seguir a Suzuki y la verdad que me ha salido bastante bien.
Well, it was a very tough combination for me, but I tried to follow Suzuki through the race, and in the end it worked for me as well.
I mean, it did, definitely. But Adriano, you little sneaky, what was that? Lucas, can you borrow your mic for him? Yeah. Like, that was really sneaky, just at the last little end there. What was that strategy? Talk us through.
Yeah. The Repechage race is always very difficult. And this track and this car. So my strategy is save my tires. So in the final of the race, I have a little advantage. So that's it. I I come.
Good strategy. Good strategy pays off. Well, congratulations. Give a big round of applause. Congratulations to all three. That was a very spicy, stressful race. Well done. And, well, all that remains to say is, well, we're going to be seeing you in the grand final then on Sunday. But for now, we're just going to chuck it back to Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, cheers, Jules. I mean, goodness me, we need to unpack all of that, don't we? I mean, there's so much that's gone on this evening. Highlights for you?
You know, when we saw some highlights earlier on of the Ferrari race, the Asia-Oceania, I was like, oh yeah, that was today. it's been a long one, this.
Feels like a different time zone, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. But it's been a day full of action, and you know, this is sort of typical of the GT World Series, really. Is that we get to the end and we go, well, we have like 40 million things to discuss, but I don't really know where to start. But we'll get into the points. Here are the point standings as they are now in the Nations Cup. Of course, everything's said and done. Right now, it's Igor Fraga that leads the way. 2 points his advantage over Angel Nestroza, with Repechage and Gallo tied third on 9 behind. Then it's Benelli Serrano, 8th and 7th apiece. Beauvoir, Miyazono, Drumont and Lopez down to P10. And everyone down to P13 has points. Kawakami, McEwen and Jonathan Wong have no points, but well, Jonathan Wong and McEwen are going no further anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? And of course, we've got this all to do on Sunday to decide our champion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to that final showdown. We've got a very, very talented group of drivers that we'll go over in a second. But if this was spicy, Sunday's going to be at another level.
I feel like there's been a lot of spice. It's just been a spicy old couple of days.
That's the only word we've got to describe this as spicy.
Well, do you know what I'm looking forward to above anything else is what suit you're going to pick for Sunday.
Oh,
if this is the regional finals.
You have no. This isn't even the most outrageous thing I've packed.
I do want the jacket. Can I have the jacket? Can I have it?
No, would you stop stealing all my clothes? I kid you not. This is what he does. He just borrows them and steals them. Let's have a quick run through. What are your thoughts on today, just very briefly?
I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. Just brilliant. I mean, brilliant racing for a start in all 3 regional finals, and indeed in the repechage as well. A great display of skill from those drivers, and you know, I mean,
big moments as well
really
on each one of them. Yeah.
And I mean, just the level of racing we have, but also the sportsmanship. I know I love a bit of sportsmanship. You know, I'm going to obviously, but the level of sportsmanship that we've seen has been fantastic. So that's been the real standout for me. Good, clean, fair racing.
He likes a bit of clean fun. What about you, Jimmy?
I like dirty fun. I like wild.
Well, this is taking a...
What I was going to say is that we gave our drivers some really, really difficult cars today. We thought, you know what? Screw you guys, here you go, have all this. And they rose to the challenge. You know, we had an old 60s Le Mans car with tyres that were very hard to get the hang of. We had the Lamborghini Vision GT, where everyone was saying that the pure speed that thing carried, it made it braking into corners very difficult. And of course, we had the legendary McLaren 4.4 with oodles of turbo lag, and then just to top things off, Escudo Pikes Peak.
I mean, yeah, it's a nice little mix there. But also, actually, we should obviously talk now. We've been talking about it all show. Is the driver of the day? So yes, look, Ryota Kokowun, Coco Lopez, and Angel Nestroza. So we want to hear from you guys at home. Who do you think should be our Michelin driver of the day? I mean, we've had some standout. It's really tough to pick, like 3, really tough.
Well, Nestroza is my bro.
I knew you were going to say that. I was going to say, don't ask Jimmy because you already got the answer decided.
Jimmy, stop it.
Nestroza, all right?
Oh, dear.
That's how we're doing.
Goodness sake, honestly. And of course, lest we forget the giant prancing horse in the room hidden under a very... It's like, you know when parents try to like they've given you a bike for Christmas, but they don't want you to know it's a bike for Christmas, so they like put loads of cardboard boxes over it. But yeah, so we're very excited about that. So yeah, let's take a look then at the lineup for Sunday.
Absolutely, yeah. Igor Fraga, Takuma Miyazono, Cocaine Lopez, Angel Nestroza, Ryota Kokowun, Valerio Gallo, Lucas Benelli, Baptiste Beauvoir, Jose Serrano, Tomoaki Yamanaka, Seiya Suzuki, and Adriano Carrazza. 12 of the world's best drivers in the GT World Series taking to the grid. Of course, only one can be crowned our world champion.
And I believe we're actually going to see our top 12 drivers coming to the stage now, just to get one last lovely look at their faces before the grand final lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's welcome our 12 drivers then out on to the stage.
Corridor. Yes.
Incredible stuff from all 12 of our drivers. Huge congratulations to our 3 regional champions, Takuma Miyazono for the Asia-Oceania region, Cocaine Lopez for the EMEA region, and of course Angel Nestroza for the Americas region. 12 drivers, only one can be crowned as our world champion for the Nations Cup. It's anybody's guess at this point.
That's it. Well, there they are. They've all battled so hard today for themselves and for you, for your enjoyment. So all that remains to say is we'll be back tomorrow with the Manufacturers' Cup and then, of course, the Nations Cup Grand Final on Sunday. Do not go anywhere. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring you the show. So goodbye from me and goodbye from these guys, I guess.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
PlayStation
Ah!
Ah oui.
Boy, I got a penalty for that.
¡Vamos! ¡Bien!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Monaco, the venue for our World Finals for the GT World Series in 2022. Today we have had the regional finals for the Nations Cup, and I'm delighted to welcome along our three champions. Takuma Miyazono, the champion of the Asia-Oceania region, Koke Lopez, the champion from the EMEA region, and the champion of the Americas region, Angel Inostroza. First of all, let's start with Takuma Miyazono. Takuma, an incredible race from you in the Asia-Oceania regional final at Watkins Glen. Just talk us through it. How was the race from your perspective?
はい、じゃあワトキンアジアオシアニアのリージョンファイナル、ワトキンズグレンのレース、もう素晴らしいレースでしたけど、レースの展開についてちょっとお話ししてもらえますか。はい。
そもそもあまり実際レースの方は自信がなくて、まず予選の方を決めて。ポールからスタートできたっていうところが非常に大きかったかなというふうに思っていて、レースペース自体は正直、山中選手の方が速かったので、なんとか、1位でゴールすることができてほっとしています。
Yeah, so actually, I wasn't that confident about this race. I think it was really big that I was able to qualify at pole position and keep that place that that led me to the win. I think during the race itself, Yamanaka was actually faster than me.
Okay, well, wonderful. And so how are you going to take this momentum forward into the grand finals on Sunday?
そしたら日曜日のグランドファイナルに向けてこの勢いをどういうふうに生かそうと思っていますか。
はい。ポイントの、差としては、自力の優勝は厳しいんですけど、今日の勢いを生かして、まずはレースで勝てるように、頑張ろうというふうに思っているし、本当に、自分が得意な、車とコースなので、優勝して、結果的にチャンピオンを取ることができれば最高だというふうに思っているので、まずは、リラックスして、頑張ります。
Yeah, so in terms of the where the point standings are, it's actually going to be difficult to actually win by myself. So I'm just gonna go for the race win. The cars and the tracks are those that I'm actually good at. So I'm gonna try to win, and hopefully that'll lead me to win the championship. So I'm just going to go at it in a relaxed mindset and see what happens.
Well, Takuma, thank you very much and many congratulations. Let's move over to Koke Lopez. Koke, the champion of the EMEA region. The last time you did a regional final, you were the champion in 2020 in the EMEA region. Just talk us through how it feels.
It feels amazing, no? Overall, because after Salzburg event, I was quite, I'm not going to say depressed, but I was, of course, not happy with my performance because I thought I could be faster and I didn't. So it feels nice to be back. And then after this race, let's focus in the grand final.
Fantastic. So how do you take this momentum forwards into that grand final? Because again, very different circumstances to the regional finals.
Actually, I think this will help me a lot because in the semi-final I didn't have as good pace as I have in the grand final. I really like the Red Bull after the last physics update in the game. I was really enjoying the training at home, and I think I can make a good result. So, as Takuma just said, I'll try to go for the victory, and then let's wait if the points let me win the World Finals because I'm now so low on points because I didn't do good results previously.
Okay, well, many congratulations there, Koke, and good luck for the grand finals. Let's move over to Angel Inestrosa. Angel, the regional champion for the Americas region. An incredible race from you. You led from lights to the flag. Just talk us through it from your perspective.
Well, it was a pretty difficult race. I was a little bit confident, actually I was confident with soft tires. But at the end, with medium tires, I was not comfortable at all because I felt like the car and the grip was behaving not in the same way that I practice at home. So yeah, I had to lift at the exit of some corners and losing time, and that meant that Igor was catching me. So yeah, at the end of the final laps, yeah, I was trying to push as hard as I could, and yeah, managed to stay ahead and get the win.
And what's your plan of attack for Sunday for the grand finals?
Well, I plan to take it really easy. I don't want to be nervous at all because it's gonna be my first grand final in a live event, actually in Nations Cup. So yeah, I'm gonna take it easy and see what happens. Obviously, I want to win. I like the car and the track. So yeah, see what happens.
Well, Angel, many congratulations and good luck for Sunday's grand finals. We have some questions that have come through on social media, which we will ask very shortly. But I'd like to open it up now to some questions from our media.
Hi, here, Tom from Traction.gg. Question for Angel. Your driving technique for the McLaren seemed really unique. Is it the gearing and the use of the gears that gives you the advantage?
Yeah, we had to upshift. Actually, yeah, upshift 2 gears at the time because the gears are really short, and you have turbo lag with that car. So yeah, you for example, you go from first to third. And you gain a lot of time, acceleration, top end, everything. So yeah, you need it to do that.
Wonderful. Any more questions from the media here?
Hi there, Nathan from The Race. Obviously, we've had in-person finals previously in Gran Turismo, but then not more recently because of COVID. Have you noticed a difference having it in person again in Monaco compared to more recent ones?
Is it for me?
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. That was to you.
Oh, yeah. Well, it feels amazing to be in a live event, you know. Racing online, you're really comfortable in your place. It's your place. So being in a live event is obviously gives you, I don't know, chills, for example, or gives you stress as well. So yeah, you have to manage that to do it well. So yeah, it's hard.
Okay, wonderful. Let's go to some questions that we've had on social media as well. We'll ask this question to all three drivers, starting off with Takuma, then to Koke, then to Angel. And the question that is asked is, do you practice using these type of cars regularly, or do you use a variety of different cars?
じゃあ3名ともにソーシャルからの質問を聞きたいんですけど、こういった車プラクティスで いつも家でもこういった車を使って練習してるんですか？それとも結構いろんな種類の車で練習したりするんですか？
ですね、あまり今回のような、330P4 であったり、エスコードといった車はあまり練習したことがなくて、普段からそういう車で練習すべきだと思うんですけど、あまり、最近仕事をしていて時間も取れず、そういった厳しい状況の中でこうやって残れたことはすごい自信につながりますし、これからはそういったところもしっかりと練習をして、もっと、自分がいろんな車を操れるようになるべきだなというふうに思っています。
Yeah, so cars like the 330P4 and Escudo, I have not been practicing with cars like that as much as I should. Work's been busy, and so it's difficult to really work on all those types of different cars. But having been able to win using these cars has given me confidence, and I think I know that I should practice more now. And I will, try to work on, practicing with more different types of cars so that I can drive fast with any of them.
Takuma, thank you very much. Over to you, Koke.
For me, since this became a bit more professional, let's say, I don't do anymore the usual for fun races we did like years ago. So I only train, like I only drive in the game when it's for any race training. So I just train with the car that I have for the next race. So yeah, let's say I don't usually practice with this kind of cars, but I also do daily races for my streamings in Twitch. And usually we try a lot of Group 3 and Group 4 cars. So let's say these two groups and some other street cars or maybe Red Bull or some car that is used in the daily races, we usually practice with because of the daily races, but not anything else than that.
Okay, thank you very much. And to you, Angel?
Well, usually on the online races, you don't get that cars at all. It's really rare to find them, but as you are going to a live event and you get the combos, you must practice with that. So for the past week, I have been practicing with them. But yeah, on online races, I'm more used to Group 3 cars, for example. I love the Porsche, and and that means that you get a challenge into the live event because you have to get used to the car and everything, and so it's a really hard challenge to be fast with them.
Wonderful, thank you very much, Angel. And another question to the top three drivers as well, again starting off with Takuma. So what would the top three drivers prefer? Would you prefer to be driving a race car, like a high downforce car, or would you prefer something more relatable to the road, like a road car instead?
ではもう一つ質問で、ハイダウンフォースが効いたレーシングカーを走るのか、ロードカーとかで走るの、どっちが好きですか？
はい、ハイダウンフォースのレーシングカーですね。理由としては僕あまりどう言ったらいいかな、車の荷重の移動をうまく扱うのが上手じゃなくて、そこが一つと、あとはやっぱりハイスピードな車の方がすごい車と一体に慣れている感じがして、個人的にすごく好きなので、その2つかなというふうに思っています。
Yeah, so I would definitely go with the high downforce race cars because I'm actually not that great at balancing the loads on standard cars. I more prefer going with the high speed cars because you really feel at one with the car.
And to you, Koke?
For me, it's kind of the same. I think the higher downforce the car has, the more I enjoy, and the more I enjoy, the faster I go. So in the end, everything is related to how fast you go, because you can enjoy the car, but if you are last, you are not going to enjoy the race. So I'm usually faster with high downforce cars, such as Red Bull, for example, or Group 2, let's say, and I really enjoy them. Actually, street cars were my weak point, I would say, in GT Sport, but I think thanks to the coffee mode in GT7, I got a bit more used to the street cars from the beginning of the mode, the first steps I had to do. So now I feel a bit better with the street cars, but still not as good as with the high downforce ones.
And to you, Angel?
I would say the same as Koke. I prefer with cars with high downforce, but at the same time I like street cars because precisely on this game you have to play with the weight transfer a lot more on the roll cars than on the, I don't know, Group 3 cars, for example. So yeah, I feel faster with the with the higher downforce cars. So yeah, I mean, I like both of those categories.
Wonderful. And one final question, again, for all three drivers. And it's asked, do you prefer when you're leading to have 1 second lead and to have some pressure on from behind you, or do you prefer to be leading and to not have that pressure?
レースを走っているときにリードをしているときもう1秒ぐらいのタイム差でプレッシャーを感じている状況かもしくはもう完全に引き離して一人で走っている状況どっちの方が自分には好ましいですか
もうこれはどう考えても大量に差がある方が良くてあんまりプレッシャーに強くなくて、1秒とか2秒後ろに車がいるっていう状況は、本当にいつも通りのペースで走るのがすごい難しいですし、そういった意味では、ある程度、リードを築いている方が、自分にとってはかなり好ましい状況かなと思います。
I think definitely for me, the more gap there is, the better. I'm really not that great at dealing with pressure. When there's only 1 or 2 seconds difference gap with the car behind me, I find it difficult to drive at the pace that I normally drive at. So yeah, if I have a great lead, I find it better for me.
And to you, Koke?
Yeah, in my case, I would say both are fine for me because being on the lead means that you are first. So in the end, everything is up to you. But I enjoy more racing when I have to catch up, from, for example, about qualifying or something. I'm also quite used to that because I'm not usually good on qualifyings. And I really like the feeling when you make a great comeback with a different strategy or something like that, I think myself and also Miyazono-san know how to do from previous events. So yeah, I enjoy more catching up and overtaking and coming back. But actually, I think it's better to be ahead and just try to have everything under control. It's also something I like, and if I feel confident with the car, I think I don't get stressed. I know how to deal with the pressure. But it also depends on who's behind and everything like that. It's not just the same for every case,
And Angel?
I really like when you have to gain places. For example, in 2019, Factor Series Tokyo, when I had to gain some places, and a lot of places actually. It's really enjoyable. You get focused, you get motivation, but at the same time, when you lead and you know there's a huge gap, you can focus on what you're doing. You can focus on your line, on your braking points, on everything. But yeah, when the second place is trying to catch you up, yeah, the pressure comes and you start focusing more on the timetable. And you see him catching you, and yeah, it's really difficult to manage the pressure. But well, actually, I think that nobody wants to have that pressure, but it's what happens in racing.
Wonderful. Angel, thank you very much. Well, that does just bring an end to the press conference here for the Nations Cup Regional Finals. Huge congratulations to our Asia-Oceania Regional Champion, Takuma Miyazono, to our EMEA Regional Champion, Koke Lopez, and to our America's Champion, Angel Inestrosa. We'll, of course, be back for the Grand Finals for the Nations Cup here in Monaco at 5 p.m. on Sunday. But, of course, before that, we have the Manufacturers' Cup titles to decide as well. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and we'll be back with more racing action for the GT World Series World Finals here tomorrow in Monaco.